Hey now, we are getting over, and I am the Silver King, Adam Silverstein, here to lead you through these hard times. With the latest WWE edition of your favorite professional wrestling podcast. That's right, Getting Over is back once again to break down the entirety of the last week in WWE. We will take a brief second look at Saturday night's main event from this past weekend, and we have a ton to talk about outside of the ring as well. Vintage Chris Vanini is here live. He will be along in a moment, but off the top, you know the Silver King needs to take care of a little business and remind you that this show
is all about Defy.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify, leave a 5-star rating on Apple, take a little extra time, leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. It has been about a month since our last 5-star review on Apple, which is extremely weird. Usually we get one every 2 weeks. We're reading it in the spot. We know how many people listen. We know how many reviews we have. Those numbers are nowhere near close. So if you haven't left one yet, hit us up on Apple Podcasts. Leave those 5 stars. Write a few nice words. We'll read them here on the show. It's mutually beneficial. We would greatly appreciate it. Also, do not forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show. We will go back to reading those on today's episode, and you can interact with us directly again at Getting Overcast on Twitter, Blue Sky, and subscribe to that on YouTube, where you get full-length audio episodes, full-length video interviews. Our latest with Natty Neidhart has been posted, and Silver King just locked up another one inside of the next couple of weeks, someone who you have been waiting for us to speak to here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. That's a small teaser coming up across the board at Getting Overcast. Vintage, you and I both had quite a weekend when it comes to the world of football and having to do Saturday night's main event at the end of an extremely busy college football Saturday. Sunday did not let up for me whatsoever when it came to the NFL. And then Monday night, okay, I'm thinking all I have to do is watch Raw. And Monday Night Football, it's easy. I do that every week, right? The Knicks had a home game, and my Florida Gators, the reigning national champions of college basketball, opened their 2025-26 season in the premier game of the night and lost to number 13 Arizona. So Silver King at one point was watching 4 things simultaneously. I had my TV, my iPhone, which I never use because obviously it's the smallest screen, a laptop, and a second TV, all on sports and sports entertainment at the same time. Fingers crossed that does not happen again the remainder of the year. I was up until 1 a.m. just finishing Raw, which is why, for those of you who do subscribe to us on buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, we'll talk about that a little bit later. It's why you didn't get an instant reaction. I wasn't going to post an instant reaction 2.5 hours later. Regardless, I am exhausted, but kind of wired doing the show because I'm excited for everything that we have to talk about today.
Yeah, I think still not having ESPN as a part of YouTube TV has like basically kind of cut down on what's available for me to watch at ease. And so I didn't have Monday Night Football or anything else. I was just locked in on Raw. So that was different. I don't know. But again, it's nice that it's on Netflix Raw. Some of these things you can kind of watch on other channels, and here we are.
And you can watch them at your own time. I was able to start Raw late, which was unfortunate for me because I missed some of those extra segments between commercial breaks, and we're going to be talking about that a little bit later in the show. Let's put a pin in that right now. We have a ton to get to on this episode, so let's not waste any time getting into it. Let's kick off with the WWE Saturday night's main event, a second look. And for those of you who may be first-time listeners or rare listeners, if you missed it, we have an entire Saturday night's main event instant analysis episode waiting for you in the podcast feed. We break down every single match. We analyze what's going to happen coming out of it, going into Raw on Monday night. Of course, WWE moving ahead to Survivor Series War Games and the end of 2025. Here, we're just kind of doubling back with any second thoughts, additional thoughts we might have had thinking back on the show over the last couple of days. I will tell you, I normally rewatch every WWE PLE or Saturday night's main event special. There was a show a couple weeks ago, a Raw, that I actually rewatched. That's how entertained I was by that individual episode of the show. But I didn't rewatch this because, frankly, as Vintage and I both told you on the instant analysis, It wasn't that good. I mean, the match quality was mid. I don't even like using that word, but I just did. I didn't mean to rhyme that, but I just did. The match quality was mid, and some of the results, while fine, we don't think we had a problem with any of them. They were just kind of expected. So no rewatch here. I do have a couple great adjustments, though, from clips that I saw that I wanted to make some changes. World Heavyweight Championship, CM Punk against Jey Uso. I don't have anything additional to say. 3.5 stars B was my grade. I'm keeping it there. If you're slightly lower at 3.25 or 3, B minus, we're in the same vein there. Mark at _Mark_83 wrote in, really good episode of the podcast, as always. I was kidding myself thinking Seth Rollins was going to interfere and cost Punk. Hey, he can walk and has one arm, right? Assume Punk keeps the title until Rumble now, and they do a change in Saudi to make that show big. Your thoughts? It's definitely safe to say he's keeping it until the Royal Rumble. I would be shocked if he lost it before then. I could see him keeping it all the way till WrestleMania at this point, though, especially after what happened Monday night. We'll talk more about that in a bit, obviously. But Chris, how long do you think the CM Punk reign is going to last?
Well, it might depend on what the prognosis for Seth Rollins is.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like if he's going to be back by Mania, then maybe you've penciled in Punk Rollins for the title at Mania. Or Punk Rollins costing him at Elimination Chamber or something. I don't know. Mm-hmm. But yeah, I would guess that's the case. WWE does not change titles at the Rumble very much anymore like they used to. Especially over the last several years, these have been long reigns,
right?
That type of stuff. So yeah, I would assume it's going to be this until the Rumble.
Yeah, we hoped that they were going to change it at the Rumble last year. Kevin Owens against Cody Rhodes. They didn't do it. If they weren't doing it there, CM Punk in Saudi Arabia, the baby faces are massively over. I don't think they're going to have a heel beat him for the title over there. It doesn't really make sense. And plus, that's only going to be about a 3-month reign. This is the first time this guy has held the title in a decade. You really want
second time,
right? First real reign with the title that he's had in a decade. You want that to go to WrestleMania. So I don't think he's going to drop it before then. And I do believe Rollins is a legitimate possibility for that show. Again, a little bit of a tease. We'll talk about that later in this episode. WWE Championship, Cody Rhodes against Drew McIntyre. I gave this 3.75 stars. B+. I think a lot of people are underrating this match. I know there's anger that McIntyre didn't win. We explained to you on the instant analysis why that was not going to happen in that spot. If you look at just the match itself, I thought it was a banger. I mean, they really put it out there. There was some not inventive spots, but nice callback old spots. A little bit too much of like the same moves happening. That's a WWE trope these days, especially in Cody matches. But I believe this match is being underrated severely, so I stick by my grade there. In terms of secondary topics here, first of all, the deluge of comments that we got because Silver King makes one tiny mistake, not realizing Cody and Brandy had a second daughter, possibly via surrogate. Holy crap. My bad, y'all. Okay, obviously I'm being slightly sarcastic. I was incorrect, but you'd think I insulted Pharaoh or some shit, the way people are coming at me for missing the fact that he had another baby girl. And, Brandy, I don't believe was pregnant. It was easy to not realize that something happened. Anyway, congratulations for both of their daughters. Cody as champion, this is really the topic I want to discuss. It's now starting to get old for me, which is even more reason, Chris, they need to flip this title to Drew at Survivor Series. You cannot run a reign this long, even if it was briefly interrupted for 3 to 4 months by John Cena. You can't run an extended championship reign this long without a slew of top main eventers to alternate between. He went through some of them in year one, but now there's basically no one left for Cody. The run between WrestleManias, that was strong. It was a whole year. It worked. Cody delivered as WWE champion. There's no question about that. But he's had no direction whatsoever since SummerSlam. To quote Owen Hart, enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Who has he fought as champion the second time around? It's Drew 3 times.
John Cena.
Well, he won it from John Cena.
He lost it to him, and then he won it from him. So he's fought him twice.
No, I'm saying since he won it the second time.
Yeah.
He has fought McIntyre a couple of times. Was there a Logan match in there?
I know. I believe that's it. John Cena fought Logan Paul.
Yeah, like it. I feel like there was something. I don't
No,
have it in
there
front of me,
wasn't.
but like
There
it's
wasn't.
what I've said before, which is like it's been a boring reign.
Yeah.
He is not in interesting stories, and the one he is very repetitive. He's just not doing anything interesting,
Yeah.
and he's your champion, and it's got to get freshened up in some form. He's also been on SmackDown, I think, right, this whole time,
Mhm.
uh, between the reigns and everything. It's just like I can't do. That's what I said after the show. I can't do Drew Cody again. Like I need something he can really sink his teeth into, and we really haven't had that. And I don't even think it's necessarily drop the title. I think it's just do something else. You're just doing the same things. That's why it's boring.
So it's, been 3 months since, and he did have the 2-week, 3-week long feud, whatever you want to call it, with Seth Rollins because of Crown Jewel. But in terms of defending
which was
the title,
good. By the way, which was good.
Which was good.
Really, yeah.
Great match, good storyline that they told. It worked, but it's been Drew on either side of it. And it's been McIntyre matches that happened in strange ways. That's something that we really covered on the instant analysis. The WrestlePalooza one happened with basically no build, almost on a whim, just because they had to get Cody on that show for ESPN. Then they obviously do the 5-minute match on TV because they didn't have Jacob Fatu. That was not planned, of course. And of course, that also ended in a disqualification, which created this match. Then they give a stipulation here, but it's on a B-level special event, let's call it, because I don't know what Saturday night's main event is anymore. It is a streaming special. It's not on broadcast, so it's not a TV show. But you knew the title wasn't changing here, and they didn't do any quality build for it until the go-home 24 hours before. So the best thing they've done in the Cody and Drew feud happened 24 hours before their third match. That's problematic, right? So if you're going to build this again, and you're going to do this at Survivor Series, which is my expectation as of right now, then you need to continue where you left off Friday on SmackDown. And by the way, we covered, in terms of Cody and Drew and Jade Cargill and Tiffany Stratton, we won't be discussing what happened on SmackDown for all of them on this show. We did that on the instant analysis. But you need to build off that over the next 4 weeks into Survivor Series and set that match up where McIntyre beats Rhodes. Otherwise, Drew is dead, and Cody is completely aimless. And that's why, for me, they do have to change the title. Because if Cody just beats Drew again, or if that feud is over and he goes on to, like, the next challenger, I mean, what are you going to do? Babyface on babyface? Cody, Jacob Fatu, if he gets cleared for that show, Jacob's not beating him. So it's just nothing. It's dull. It's boring. And Cody shouldn't be boring because he's still massively over as a babyface. He is much better in chase than he is as a champion. And again, I loved his reign from WrestleMania to WrestleMania. But ever since SummerSlam, it's just been boring, repetitive. He hasn't developed. You haven't believed in him really as champion. He's had that hair trigger anger thing, which didn't make any sense for a while. He needs not a reset. You're not trying to change the dude, but they just got to, like, take the cartridge out, blow on it, and then stick it back in. And that aspect is McIntyre winning the title, and then have Cody come back and chase 6 months from now, but freshen him up a little bit. I don't want Cody Rhodes as champion or in a championship match at WrestleMania.
I've not thought about Mania that much. So you don't want him on either one?
No. I want him in a huge match. I want him in a big rivalry match where there's storytelling and you're really rooting for Cody. And then on the other side of WrestleMania, if you make him number one contender again and he wins the title at SummerSlam or between WrestleMania and SummerSlam, cool. No problem. But
the other thing
we
is,
need
like,
a break badly.
But who would Cody even fight at a Mania? Like you said, like he's done Roman twice. He's fought McIntyre a million times. Done Seth.
I got two names for you.
Not it, but who?
Randy Orton, which does not need the title.
Yeah.
It would be better with the title with Orton. I will admit, but you could do it without it.
I like it a lot more on paper than I think it'll work out. But yeah,
you're saying without a title?
No, just a Cody Orton feud.
Cody Orton with the title so that Orton can win his next one and, he turns heel because of it. Hot feud. Without the title, I admit, not as hot. The other one, I hate to even say the name. Brock Lesnar. That's a huge WrestleMania match.
Yeah, I guess.
It is.
I'm just trying to think like who Cody versus who, what would excite me? And I think that's kind of the biggest thing here. It's like he has fought everybody, like you said.
Right.
I don't know. Could go
Honestly,
different ways,
Cody
but
putting over a younger talent would actually excite me. Like you bring up Obafemi, or he somehow gets in a feud with Braun Breaker and he loses, and he has like a come to
Braun
Jesus
would be
type of
fun.
situation like that.
I
That
think
would be cool.
I think Cody needs to get to Raw. Like there's so many people over there. I think it would be much more interesting. I think we'll talk about it, but SmackDown being a problem,
Yes,
I think is
SmackDown
weighing
has
down
stagnated
Cody as
to
well.
such a significant degree. Really, what the answer is they got to move like 5 to 6 people from Raw over to SmackDown, and then flop like 2 back. And Cody being one of them would be okay because it would completely freshen up the SmackDown men's scene. But right now, that's not where it is, and everyone's suffering because of it. But my contention on whatever day this is, November 4th, is that Cody needs to no longer be WWE champion, at least until after WrestleMania. And fingers crossed that it happens, but I'm not going to count on it. WWE Women's Championship, Tiffany Stratton defending against Jade Cargill, who, of course, won the title here. This is my only grade adjustment. I'm going down from 2.75 stars C+, 2.5 stars C. I did watch this one again in a vacuum. It just was a 5-minute squash, and we talked about why and how, and I disagreed. I don't have any other notes or questions from the audience. Anything that you wanted to say about this?
Nah.
Intercontinental Championship, Dominik Mysterio successfully defending against Penta and Rusev. You and I agreed, match of the night, 3.75 stars B+. I don't have anything on this either. It was exactly what we expected it to be and nothing more. But I did have a thought coming out of this show in general that I completely glossed over during our instant analysis. It was a note on my sheet I just didn't read. Among current WWE champions right now, Chris, you have Cody Rhodes, CM Punk, Jade Cargill, Ricky Saints, Ethan Page, who's a 2-time champion, and Blake Monroe. 6 former AEW wrestlers who left that company and joined WWE. I saw people out there putting Stephanie Vaquer. No, she was never signed with AEW. She wrestled 1 match. She was somewhere else in CMLL, I believe, and then WWE signed her. Now, obviously, Cody and Punk, longtime WWE superstars. Punk, a longtime main eventer. Still, that's 6 champions at once right now, including 3 world champions and the top champion on NXT, who left AEW and are now being spotlighted in a significant way in WWE. That's pretty crazy when you think about it.
Well, yeah, and they posted the pictures, too.
The 4 of them. There was a great picture that we reposted of Cody, Punk, Saints, and Jade all together. Obviously, Ethan Page and Blake Monroe were not there, but the other 4, yes.
Have you ever, like, on YouTube, like, had an old AEW clip pop up on your algorithm? And I watched, like, an MJF CM Punk back and forth promo popped up, and there was like
so
a Cody one.
Yeah.
It's like, and you're like, whoa. Like, it is kind of weird looking back, remembering not only were these people in AEW, a lot of them were like founding people of AEW. And I do think it's a credit to AEW to have lost all those people and still be, you know, a good, successful, competent company. But man, you like look back, you're like, wow, they really had a lot of dudes. And it's kind of like some of those one-off WCW runs. You look back, oh yeah, that person was in WCW. I wonder if, like, in the annals we go, oh yeah, Cody AEW, there was that too. Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting.
There's unique situations with all those talents. Like Cody, Cody hamstrung himself with that, you know, booking where he would never be AEW champion, and also he was always destined to eventually come back to WWE. We knew that.
Yes.
Punk, we've gone over ad nauseum the issues with him and the Young Bucks and the Elite and Tony Khan and the whole deal there. That was destined to fail, and major decisions, incorrect decisions were made in that regard. Jade was completely pigeonholed. She did one thing her entire time there, nothing else, and wasn't very good. I think she's improved markedly in WWE. There's people who say, well, she's not an incredible wrestler. Okay, but that doesn't mean she's not better. I think she's improved to where she does legitimately come across as a world champion level, which is what the WWE Women's Championship is. Ricky Saints, that was a surprising falling out. And really, he's the one that made the least sense to me that it didn't work. I thought he was going to have a big career there. Surprising. Ethan Page was completely underused. Maybe the singular most underused person that they had on their roster for a multiple period of time. Blake Monroe, out of this group, Mariah May, was probably the best used person out of all of them. But for her, it was her dream to come to WWE. So it was all completely different circumstances of how they wound up in this company. And yet, when you look at where they're being positioned now, Ethan Page singularly is doing the best work of his entire career in NXT. It's wild to see. CM Punk is completely rejuvenated beyond even, in my opinion, what he was doing in AEW. Cody Rhodes far better than what he was doing there. Jade, I think, has improved massively. Ricky, not there yet. Ricky's kind of still a question. I'm not sure what's going to happen. Blake certainly is not in the top main event level like she was in AEW. She's working on a different character. But I think what was always obvious to me is that she was put in a position in AEW that happened to work based on the feud she had with Toni Storm. It never really seemed like she was ready to be the singular women's champion there. And that was kind of proven when she had her reign. So it's just really interesting to see how it's all kind of come around to where they are now.
It's also, this is the value of having multiple really good promotions.
Absolutely.
Because people can get opportunities elsewhere and they become desired. And then there's people you want to pull them in. Oh, hey, we could do something with this person. Or, hey, I'm not happy here. I could go to this other company and make something for myself. And that's good for professional wrestling. That's why it's why it's good that AEW is there and still doing well and everything. So,
and it works.
It works
the other way too. And, sorry to interrupt you. It works the other way too. Like, WWE specifically told Edge, like, we're happy to keep employing you and we'll use you occasionally, but you're not going to be a regular part of TV. And they told her business, Bobby Lashley and MVP, we're done with this. We're not going to do this anymore. And they both said, well, in Edge's case, I want to work regularly, and her business, we want to be together. We want to do this. They left. They're doing what they want to do, and it's successful for AEW. So it really goes both ways. Maybe different levels of success, but regardless, I mean, it's healthy for the industry, and that's hugely, hugely positive. Speaking of all of this, I apologize for not keeping up with this. It's been a signature here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast, but with CM Punk winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship, I decided to look back at some title history because I lost track of something that I was following for years now. I can now tell you, Braun Breaker is the real AEW champion and lineal AEW champion, having claimed the moniker on August 25th. It went from Punk to Seth Rollins in the steel cage match. LA Knight beat him in Saturday night's main event, the match that Rollins basically gave up in, right, in kayfabe. So Punk was like, Rollins, excuse me, I messed that up twice now. Rollins is like, lineal AEW title, who cares? So LA Knight had it, and then he lost to Braun Breaker one-on-one in August, and Breaker retained that in a rematch with Knight last week. So Braun Breaker is officially your real AEW champion and lineal AEW champion. Congratulations to him. And believe it or not, we still have a slightly adjacent topic to discuss when it comes to Saturday night's main event, and we have a lot to get to from Raw and SmackDown this week, all of which we will cover in short order.
But I'm afraid I've got some news.
WWE announced Tuesday, right before we taped the show, that the next iteration of Saturday night's main event is set for January. That's right. What is supposed to be a 4 times annual event will be held in 3 straight months, right in the middle of football season. Following John Cena's retirement on December 13th, the following Saturday night's main event is now set for January 24th in Montreal, Quebec, Canada, 1 week before the 2026 Royal Rumble in Saudi Arabia. Now, you may say, wait a minute, Silver King, that really sounds like a bad decision. And you would obviously be right. But if you recall, it's exactly what WWE did last year also. Jey Uso challenged Gunther for the title on Saturday night's main event, only to lose and then literally win the Royal Rumble 7 days later. This year's Royal Rumble, you'll remember, was in Indianapolis, and it was way better than 2024. Yet, it only had 4 matches on the card, including the 2 out of 3 falls DIY Motor City Machine Guns match that totally disappointed, and Charlotte Flair returning to win the Women's Rumble. So I have no idea how WWE is going to build these 2 cards, particularly because I do not see how they could only do 4 matches in the sand. I can't imagine that being accepted. But this does bring up an interesting booking question. Does WWE run back the same trope they did a year ago? Does Sami Zayn perhaps lose a match of some kind in Montreal, because that's his city, only to then win the Royal Rumble in Saudi? Does WWE now hold off his big moment over there until 2026? Or do they have him win the Rumble, lose the title match at WrestleMania, and then remix it with him winning, let's say, Elimination Chamber in 2027 before taking the title out of WrestleMania? There's a lot of possibilities here, Chris. The end result either way is 3 Saturday Night's Main Event in as many months, which is only made slightly better by there not being a PLE in December. But regardless, it's too much in a short window, and this is an issue we've been having since the start of the summer.
Yeah, I mean, I count these as PLEs. For the Cena farewell one is going to be one. So, like, technically there's not one in December, but, like, there is.
Sure.
I hate this. I hated it last year. I hate it now. This is AEW type stuff when they do pay-per-views in back-to-back weeks around Labor Day or whatever. Like, the calendar being so infrequent and jumbled has really just hurt WWE's ability to tell coherent stories over periods of time. And everything suffers for it. I don't get this. I didn't get it last year. I don't like it.
No, don't like that.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of it either. But Chris, let me tell you something I am a huge fan of. Because when it came to watching Saturday Night's Main Event this weekend, when it comes to watching WWE premium live events each month, and frankly, I'm starting to do it now for Raw, SmackDown, and even NXT each week, I am all in using NordVPN. It is so incredibly easy to set up and execute, and it's a drastically better viewing experience for WWE. Not only do you get commercial-free shows, even though you're paying a small amount for the NordVPN access, you will save so much money when it comes to watching WWE programming. Literally, all I do is open the app, hit quick connect to another country. I generally use the United Kingdom out of habit, but if you're in the United States, you could use Canada for some time zone equivalency. Anyway, I connect to NordVPN in seconds and then open Netflix, find the show, and watch it live. That's it. For premium live events and Raw, there is constant content. And for SmackDown and NXT, you get to watch full matches inside the commercial breaks and then commercial-free breaks at the other times. Saturday Night's Main Event also airs on YouTube in addition to Peacock, so I used that to avoid commercials on Saturday. It's a seamless integration, low-effort experience. It makes consuming the product that much better, and again, cheaper. You don't need to subscribe to ESPN or Peacock or even a cable system anymore. All you need is Netflix and YouTube access, and you get it all. But that's just the WWE aspect, because with NordVPN, you can watch other sporting events that don't air in your home region. You can get around any online censorship or surveillance, protect your private data when web browsing, whether you're at home or on the road, and you can avoid online threats. Plus, one NordVPN account, it can be used on 10 different devices. And maybe best of all, NordVPN is now the official singular sponsor of your boys right here, the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. And they have been awesome partners already. To get the best discount from NordVPN, please go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan. And there's no risk at all with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. So visit nordvpn.com/gettingover or click the link in our podcast description. It will be there every single episode. Improve your WWE viewing experience, browse safer online, support Getting Over, and get the best discount you can on the best VPN in existence. nordvpn.com/gettingover. Chris, we touched on this last week, but these SmackDowns at Big 12 venues before college football games, they have been straight up failures. WWE on Friday night promoted the Utah-Cincinnati game more in the first 15 minutes of the show than they gave us fresh content. And I'd say they promoted the game nearly as much as they did Saturday Night's Main Event the following evening, maybe more. This despite that game, by the way, going head-to-head with WWE's own show. To me, that is utter insanity. And beyond that, it was the worst attended WWE TV show in years. An outlier, sure, but a fact nonetheless. SmackDown just lacked any intensity whatsoever Friday night. It was the worst blue brand show in a month, much closer to the crap we were getting before that brief resurgence. And the women continue to be booked like absolute trash. The crowd was just kind of there. I couldn't really blame them. It was a Halloween Friday. WWE draws families. They put on a poor product for those who did attend. It's in Salt Lake City. Now, before I get off on what I feel is going to be an oncoming rant about the differences between these brands, do you have any take on what's going on with SmackDown and these Big 12 adjacent shows? You've seen the integration at the Big 12 championship game and the WWE branded title. It doesn't seem like this is stopping anytime soon, but them adding this additional layer just seems to have been a failure.
I disagree. I think the Friday night thing, I think the Halloween aspect of it is like maybe like a pretty big thing for it to be Halloween night, where you're at around I don't know if they were in the downtown arena or the college arena. I don't remember, but I think that's one factor specific to that one. WWE is going huge on these championship belts, by the way. Every time I've traveled to a college football game, Oklahoma, LSU, I go to the bookstore or whatever. I usually try to just buy something from the local team. And they always have the belt there. They've got the belt up there, and I see them quite a bit. And they keep expanding it. They're adding more schools and all this kind of stuff. I don't know who is buying these things. They're certainly not my thing, but that's out there. And as a college football guy, like I enjoyed seeing the Utah-Cincinnati promo. Like it doesn't, but that's specific to me. Other people may be annoyed by it.
It was like 6 different times though during the show. I mean, it was constant.
Yeah, but like I'm used to that because I'm usually watching ESPN all day where they do that. So
Yeah,
it's not something that like jumped out to me. I also don't generally know the crowds. I only notice the crowd when it's either really, really bad or really, really good. I usually don't have a take on it every week like you often do.
Mm-hmm.
And the other factor is, as we will talk about, SmackDown sucks. And it has for a while.
Yeah.
And that has to be a factor.
So was that crowd noticeably bad to you?
No, because I was popping up. There were trick-or-treaters coming by, and I'm handing out candy,
so
and I'm like half paying attention half the time. So again, it was a very unique, kind of night.
As a quick aside, you said you visit the team stores every time you go to a different campus that I assume that you've never been to before. What is the standard purchase? Is it like a t-shirt, a hat? Like, what are you buying?
Usually a magnet to put on the fridge, and a pin, because I'll often put up pictures of the stadiums and my credentials up on these cork boards that I have in my office. Mm-hmm. And if there's something unique to the place, like a play like a champion thing, if you're Notre Dame,
okay,
or if there's something like specific to the place, that a toy or something.
Like, do you have like a yellow play like a champion sign from Notre Dame that they sell in the bookstore or something like that? Or a shirt that says it. Here. It's very similar to it.
I don't have that one. I bought like a mini LSU pocket helmet from LSU a couple weeks ago.
See, I'd want like a Mike the Tiger plushie if I was going to LSU. If I was going to bring something back,
They were selling tiger tails, and I was thinking about that, but I was like, I don't know where I'm going to put this either. So
what's the best mascot, live mascot in college football? There's an answer. There's a singular answer, and you better get it right.
It's Ralphie at Colorado, but I've not seen Ralphie in person.
Thank you.
It is indeed Ralphie. I mean, obviously the Gators don't have a live mascot. I wish we did. It's actually kind of ridiculous that we don't. But to me, there's no argument. It's Ralphie. Yesterday, today, and tomorrow. Greatest of all time. It's phenomenal that they have that.
I did see Mike the Tiger, the LSU Tiger, whose habitat is like right across the street from the stadium at LSU.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's actually pretty cool.
It is indeed. So my thing that I buy, so I don't do it at every college stadium, but if I ever go to a championship game, and I don't even know how this started, it did. And you know what? It started because of WrestleMania. That's why. If I go to WrestleMania or if I go to any championship match, college football playoff championship, Super Bowl, NCAA tournament, whatever, I buy whatever the commemorative Coke thing is. I don't even drink soda anymore. but I get the commemorative, $10 Coke with that big, 42-ounce cup and fill it with like tea usually or something like that. Sometimes I've previously bought it with empty and just said, just give me the cup before.
I do that.
That's what I
do that with pennants. So like I've got pennants from a couple of national championship games, a Final Four, and I got the Cody Rhodes WrestleMania 40 champion pennant as well.
Yeah, I
had to
that.
order that one.
Yeah. Do you have like a wheel of them, or do you just have them sitting somewhere?
No, they're just kind of staggered on the wall.
The other thing I do is any major golf event I go to, I buy the pin flag. So I have 7 Masters flags. I have a Ryder Cup flag, and a couple others just kind of chilling here. So those I'm going to put them on a pole at some point and just like hang them in a garage or office or something, but I just haven't gotten around to it. So they're just stacked up in a pile. That's a lot of money to just have things stacked in a pile. So
yeah,
need to utilize this. All right, back to wrestling and back to this rant about SmackDown. Look, dude, SmackDown and Raw this week were not in the same stratosphere from one another. I cannot stress that enough, okay? The gulf between them right now, it's as vast as the Grand Canyon. I don't want to repeat the same shit we say most weeks, but how are both of these shows booked by the same overall WWE creative team? How can these professionals go into the office each week thinking the SmackDown women's roster is good enough when the women are completely dominating Raw in all 3 divisions, the main event, the mid-card, and the tag team division, and Monday nights are red hot because of it? Yeah, the SmackDown women are tag team champions. They came up with doing Charlotte Flair and Alexa Bliss. Thumbs up, man. Kudos to you. That's solid. The rest of the division is empty. The main event is barren, and the mid-card is non-existent. How can they do the same shallow talk but say mostly nothing booking for Cody Rhodes in the WWE Championship and have the United States champion doing open challenges, which we like, don't get me wrong, but they book those in lieu of storytelling, whereas there are fully formed creative plans for the men's singles titles involving multiple different contenders at any given time on Raw, even despite Seth Rollins getting injured suddenly. I know a headline was made of Road Dogg being put back in charge of SmackDown Creative, and it did, to be fair, immediately get worse after that. But I cannot imagine Doggy is the sole reason this is happening. More so, I cannot imagine how Paul Levesque can watch these shows each week and think SmackDown is an acceptable product when Raw is just tearing shit apart. It's almost more flummoxing than when the product was straight trash in 2019, because at least then you knew there was one out-of-touch geriatric asshole who was asserting what he thought was good creative on both shows. This, in 2025, does not make a stitch of sense to me when we've seen what Levesque has done since 2022, and we watch Raw deliver weekly.
It's just not good top to bottom, and it starts with the main event scene, which we've already talked about here. Like, everything, the history of pro wrestling is everything starts with your main event scene, and that lifts everything else up. And it's been bad for a while, and it's just not interesting. They've destroyed the tag team division that we've said multiple times for no reason whatsoever. The work they put in to build that tag division was so admirable. Mm-hmm. And then to just throw it all away to do Wyatt Six stuff still just boggles. It just boggles my mind.
And they're not even on TV most weeks, which is crazy.
No, so
weeks.
There's no, like, it just never feels like there's a plan or like anything. It's a mess.
It's really crazy. By the way, speaking of crazy, it's kind of nuts that Raw was never held in New Mexico before Monday night. Decades of live shows, never in New Mexico. Jose Montoya at Rise of the PHX 79 wrote in. He said, "I want your honest opinion of the crowd for Raw tonight. I will be in attendance. It is my home city." The Rio Rancho crowd was excellent for Raw. Not sure if it was because it was starved for live WWE, not having hosted the show previously, or the way WWE catered to the specific crowd with a show that heavily featured Mexican and Latin talent. I'll come back to that. Or the fact that WWE had the Rey Mysterio, Becky Lynch, and to a lesser extent, Logan Paul surprises. Or just that Raw was a great episode of TV with all of those being icing on the cake. Hell, it may just be that New Mexico is a great crowd, period. But they absolutely delivered in every way. Loud pops, some unique chants, active throughout the matches, not only when the sequences were hot, but even when they weren't. Netflix was also great, not muting any of the curses that allowed the live crowd.
I noticed that.
It sold the excitement of the show because you heard them going crazy. You're not getting muted for no reason. I thought New Mexico kicked ass on Monday night, Chris, and feather in the cap to Netflix as well for kind of laying off the mute button, or WWE laying off the mute button because they're on Netflix, whoever controls that.
Yeah, I was like, wait a minute, we're hearing the holy shit chant for the first time. Thank God.
Unabated,
so I hope that continues moving forward. In terms of the crowd, like, again, like, it was a really good show, and so the crowd was good, and so I didn't notice it anymore otherwise. But I will say, New Mexico's popping right now. I wrote a story right before the football season about University of New Mexico football,
the Lobos, and
everything they'd kind of gone through the last couple of years, and I talked to a lot of people in that state and try to get like a feel for how the people of that state are, and that is a huge boxing and UFC state. Like, it's still a fighting state is kind of what I learned from talking to a lot of people. And so I'm not surprised that they would be up for pro wrestling in that sense. And also now the Lobos are 6-3 and bowl eligible and having a great season. So shout out to New Mexico, top 5 state flag, without a doubt.
Whoa, top 5 state flag. Hold on. Silver King needs to do some research here. New Mexico state flag.
You've seen it.
I'm sure I have, but I need. Oh shit, that is top 5 state flag. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
The yellow one. I forget what that.
Sick.
I forget what that that logo
what it represents.
Is called. It's called something, but yeah, it's very unique. I love it.
I'm googling.
And oftentimes you'll see the New Mexico flag at sporting events that don't involve New Mexico. Like, New Mexicans just take that flag everywhere.
It's the Zia sun symbol, or the Zia symbol. It's ancient and sacred emblem of the Zia Pueblo, an indigenous Native American people of New Mexico. I love that flag. And have I seen it before? Yeah. Did it come to mind when you said New Mexico state flag? No, it did not. That's a baller flag. You're right. It's definitely top 5. Honestly, for me, I'd have to go through all 50. It may be way higher than 5.
Yeah, for sure.
By the way, when we talk about diversity in WWE, there still remains like a dearth of black male singles talent on the shows, and that's a long-standing issue. It's also coming from NXT, hopefully sooner than later. But diversity is not about one race, gender combination. This show on Monday night, I didn't look it up until right before the show, and I noticed this. It featured 9 Mexican or Latin American stars, plus a Lucha Libre specific gimmick with the 3 Americanos, none of whom, of course, are actually Mexican. But that's without.
Some aren't even American.
Oh, you're right. None of them are American. 0 for 3. And that's without any of the AAA talent on the show, or even mentions about AAA other than the Dominik Mysterio title. So for me, WWE being able to casually put that on the episode, and for me, and maybe many other people, to not even recognize it until I was thinking, like, why was the New Mexico crowd so hot for the shows? Oh, wow, there was a lot of Latin talent on the show. That seems pretty damn cool. I just thought that was pretty impressive that they're able to casually throw that out there. And it's, I mean, just as fantastic as it would be with any other talent there. I mean, in many cases, much, much better, if we're being candid.
Yeah.
So
that was great too. I noticed that during I realized it during the Mysterio segment.
Because it came after those other matches, right? And you're just like, oh, wow, look at that. Yeah. It was pretty damn cool. There was also a part 2 to the WrestleMania 42 poker trailer with the guys actually playing. It was really stupid. I think Roman Reigns said something about the table acknowledging him and it being the Tribal Chiefs game. I presume we're going to get a promo from each of these guys with 5 total trailers promoting the on sale. But Chris, this has just been poorly conceptualized and executed, especially with those dumb teasers. It's not actively terrible or anything, but the way Michael Cole has been throwing to them as if it's some like monumental deal that he's about to show us, it feels like he's actively insulting our intelligence.
I'm not going to lie. I didn't even know there was a new one because when it started, my eyes just glazed over. And I was like, oh, we're playing this again. I'm looking at my computer. I didn't know it was the second one. So
fair enough.
It's not working on me.
That was from Raw on Monday night. They had previously only played the first one before that. All of that is now out of the way. So Chris, let's discuss everything that happened this week on Monday Night Raw and Friday Night SmackDown. And we're going to kick it off as we always do right here on the Getting Over Wrestling podcast by sliding into the main event.
This
CM Punk opened Raw getting an exceptional pop, immediately expressing love for AJ Lee, even saying she has an ass that don't quit. No lies detected, bud. Then he put over the fans and Jey Uso, saying they may not be friends after the title win, but he came there to make money and win championships, and now he's done that. Punk said his goal was to hold on to the strap as long as he can, especially without Seth Rollins slithering in the background. Then he mocked Rollins by swinging the title around, promising to sideline him again whenever he returns. Punk said he wanted to test himself against the best of the best, mentioning AJ Styles and even the likes of Dominik Mysterio, JD McDonough somehow, Finn Balor, Sheamus, and John Cena. Then he literally said, the champ is here, only for Logan Paul to enter, getting massive heat. Punk immediately said, anybody but you, told him to go to SmackDown. There's a U.S. Open challenge over there Ilya Dragunov's doing. That's perfect. Unironically, a good idea, by the way. Logan talked about fighting the best and beating AJ at WrestleMania as being proof he deserves a title shot. The Vision was next out with Paul Heyman wearing his best suit in years, maybe a decade. He called Logan a bitch without an owner, which didn't fully make sense to me, but it sounded good. Heyman said Bronson Reed and Braun Breaker should be at the front of the line, given they respectively pinned Roman Reigns and LA Knight. He demanded, but Logan refused to vacate the ring. So Breaker cut a really weak promo on them, but the crowd was insanely hot for him. Punk told Paul it was time to fight, but he tried to leave, so Breaker shoved Logan backwards with the Vision attacking Punk 2-on-1. Logan hemmed and hawed about what to do, but ultimately made the save, himself getting absolutely destroyed with a shoulder toss suplex from Breaker and a tsunami from Reed. Punk then cleared the ring with the steel chair, and that was the end of the segment. This was unexpected. It's probably the most plain way to put it. Going in order here, okay? Punk's celebration promo I thought was excellent. Probably one of his 10 to 12 best promos since returning to WWE. He set the stage for his reign nicely, threw a lot of interesting names out there. Styles and Balor obviously being particularly of interest to me. He did a great job setting himself up as a babyface champion, willing to take on all comers. Did not mention LA Knight, which I found incredibly interesting, maybe on purpose. Plus, the way he taunted Rollins, that lent credence to what I said after Saturday night's main event. They may now be booking that match for WrestleMania if Seth can get back in time, which is definitely possible. I know there's a faction of people that they claim to be tired of their feud, the Seth and Punk feud, but I'm not. And it's far more realistic to consistently hate someone than just drop it when you happen to not be feuding. Next, Logan coming out was simultaneously a shock, given the show's location especially, and an eye roll as we generally don't want him on our screen. There was nothing wrong with his promo and warped perception of reality. In fact, it was probably one of Logan's better promos because it wasn't just about, I'm rich and I'm popular, so blah, blah, blah. It was actually, hey, I accomplished these things and I'm deserving of something. Punk was actually hilarious, refusing and hating on him. I figured we were headed toward Logan aligning with the Vision, filling the Rollins space for War Games, given that's upcoming. So the huge surprise of this segment was Heyman going after Paul and Logan ultimately saving Punk, which is why I didn't believe that was going to happen at first. I wondered if somehow he might be part of the Vision side by the show's end, because the obvious consideration of, is WWE trying to turn this dude face, was such an unnatural alignment for him that I figured no way that could actually be the booking. So despite my distaste for Logan and relative confusion about him helping Punk, it was a pretty damn successful opening segment that got the crowd hype, set the stage for the show, and set the stage for Punk's title reign.
Punk's promo, I thought it was kind of whatever. It very much felt like all right, veterans here to just list off a bunch of people who are great and try to put them over, which I get. So, all right, sure. And then when Logan's music hit, I go, oh no. Oh no. Where are we going into another one of these? And then as he's walking down the ring and then he starts his promo where he says he deserves this, I had another thought. I don't even know if I agree with this.
Okay.
But a thought. Should Logan have won the vacant world title?
What are you talking about? No, of course not.
Like, considering how uninspiring Punk versus Jay was.
Okay.
I'm just thinking, like, if we had put it back onto another heel, and if Logan was ever going to win a world championship, which I have said I thought he will, like maybe now would have been the time to do it.
He will,
you know?
at some point. At some point,
Right,
he
so,
will
like,
hold that title. Yeah.
And I was like, like, I don't know. Like, I don't think I agree with that, but I was just so dismayed with everything about Punk Jay and then Raw and them being friends and stuff where I'm just like, I don't know. Maybe it wouldn't have been the worst thing in the world. But then the segment plays out and Logan not only makes the save, he makes the sensible save. Like they laid out that structure very well, where both of them felt like they had a case to fight Punk, so they're naturally not on the same side of things. He got shoved. His head hit the back of the thing of the light board there. For a minute, I was like, oh, I hope he's okay. And so then for him to then come in, like, made sense. I was like, hey, that's basic good character 101 stuff. I'm intrigued. I thought it was a good segment.
The case for Logan winning the title Saturday would have been that he could have taken the battle royal, which is not really beating anyone. It's kind of lucking into it, right?
Yes.
And then something happens in the match. Punk gets hurt or whatever the case. Logan then wins the title.
Or Jeff does something. Jeff comes back.
Right.
That guy, Jeff.
Heaven forbid. Him coming back, being on TV, and like Michael Cole. Oh my God, it's Jeff. Like, what? But yes, something happens where Punk gets screwed or screws himself, or, you know, he's bragging because he's kicking the shit out of this guy and Logan takes advantage. And
or the vision interfered.
Somehow, right. And they came to an agreement that those guys get title shots or whatever the case might be. And then that's what happens, and that's how he takes it. The reason why that wouldn't happen is, number one, it was Saturday night's main event in Salt Lake City. If you're going to do Logan Paul in a title match where he's going to win the championship for the first time, you're putting that, unfortunately, probably on a big show and probably in a city or town or area where you're going to get a response. Cleveland, Ohio, major city, Chicago, like where it just
he showed up in New Mexico. So
vociferous booing. Sure, but I'm saying if he's going to win a title, that's different than that. So that's why that wouldn't have happened. I see the logic of what you're saying, but I mean, please, God, no. But
it was just a thought I had.
But in terms of this segment, you did nail it from the standpoint of the Logan part. You know, we don't have to like him being on our television, but we can also be objective about the content that he's producing and the way WWE's booking him. This was probably the best booked segment, spoiler alert, episode of television that Logan's been on. I don't want to say ever, but in a long ass time. Like the work he did alongside John Cena as a heel was fantastic as well. Against Cena when he was a heel and Cena was a face, that sucked. But this was actually well done from the perspective of, yeah, Logan's not a face, but he does have a reason to actually get Punk's back in this situation. And someone actually texted me and they spoiled Raw to a degree. They're like, is Logan Paul really teaming up with CM Punk? I'm like, what are you talking about? This was before I was able to start this show. And so I thought coming out of this segment, they were going to team up in the main event and have a match or on the next show have a match. And then that didn't happen, which we'll talk about in a moment. And I was like, oh, okay. Whew. They're really not trying to make this guy a babyface. Because if you did, him and Punk teaming up and like Logan getting a win in that match, saving Punk, that's how you, if you were going to effort that, that's how you would achieve it or try to achieve it, attempt to achieve it. So that didn't happen, obviously. But to finish up on this segment, the worst part of this was not Punk's promo, if you perhaps didn't like it, I did, or Logan Paul being on your screen, which many people may not like, and I don't like, but I thought he did good work. The worst part of this was Breaker's promo. It had no content or direction. And I really hate how Reed actually has a better case to be number one contender, which Heyman even stated. He's like, this guy beat Roman Reigns, yet it's Breaker heavily in front of this duo. Are they peers after the same goal at the same level? Or is Reed second fiddle? If they're peers, Reed needs to speak as often or alongside Breaker. If he's playing second fiddle, don't try to position him as an equal. You have to make a decision. You cannot have it both ways.
I agree on all those fronts. I didn't love. I thought Braun, like the promo didn't like totally make sense, but I thought he delivered it well. if that makes sense.
Yeah, he delivered it okay. Like
to the point where I was like,
confidence-wise.
This is why, to the point where I was like, this is why I feel like they don't need Paul Heyman. Like they're good enough that like they can talk for themselves. But
I think out of everyone in the Vision, Braun Breaker needs Paul Heyman more than anyone else. He's not
which
there
is weird.
on the promo.
Which is weird because I think he's getting him less than Bronson.
No. Heyman, no. Then Bronson, yes, but Heyman's been doing a lot more work with these guys than he was doing when it was with Rollins, obviously.
Yes.
He's speaking a lot more, and it's necessary for them. But the way he's speaking, he's saying both of these guys are amazing. Both of these guys are main eventers and number one contenders. But then Braun Breaker steps in front every time and is the one leading. You can't do that. It just doesn't work for me. So that was the opening segment of the show. Better than many opening segments of Raw and SmackDown, obviously, that we've gotten recently, but still, mediocre. Later backstage, Jay confronted Punk, saying something in his heart told him to help him out on Raw. Punk asked, "Can I actually trust you? Are you Lil Roman or are you main event Jay talking?" Jay got passionate, insisting his intentions were pure, and he said they could take care of the Vision tonight if he would let him help. Punk agreed and yeeted. Heyman later found Jay trying to get in his head about teaming with Punk. Jay said Punk beat him clean with no tricks, which he respected. Heyman said that's not how Reigns would handle it. Jay said he doesn't care about anyone else's opinion, including Roman's. Paul gave Jay a warning that he's not holding the Vision off anymore, but he saw that Jay had a vision all of his own and suggested he might be an exception to the rule. The Jay and Punk backstage segment together was 100 times better than anything they did to build the actual world title match. Jay spoke and acted like a real person. He had something to say, and he was able to express it well. However, it did seem like his character is continuing to backtrack, not being egotistical. Fuck, man, I'm sorry. However, it did seem like his character has backtracked, suddenly not being egotistical and frustrated simply because he was beaten clean. But it did fit with the way the match was booked on Saturday, which we criticized because we felt it did not address him doing whatever it would take to win the title like he said he would. So while Saturday was inconsistent with the Jay booking over the prior month, Monday's character arc was consistent with what we saw Saturday. The egotistical, frustrated Jay, that dude was interesting. And I'm really hoping, Chris, they're not moving away from that, but it seems like they are. I'm not entirely sure why. That to me is confusing. Heyman's inclusion was obviously meant to sow seeds of doubt that Jay would turn on Punk, counter to what he promised earlier. I thought both were strong setups on the main event, build, and it kept us interested during the show. But I'm just not fully understanding what they're doing with Jay.
No, me neither. The Heyman stuff was better because that fit into the larger story of Jay not knowing what he's doing. Mm-hmm. And Heyman trying to like get in there and like speak on his shoulder and try to convince him because he sees somebody who is wavering. The Punk Jay stuff, I didn't care for at all. So you're right. It is very inconsistent.
So we had CM Punk and Jey Uso against the Vision in the main event. Great spot by the heels with Breaker piggybacking on Reed for a standing splash of Punk. So simple, so impactful. The heels then hit a 3D style lung blower, more fresh teamwork that told me these guys should be going back after those tag team titles. Jay got the hot tag. Oh yeah, he was back in his regular gear, not just wearing black shorts. The crowd was on fire for him. He avoided Jagged Edge, speared Reed for a broken fall. Jay came back with a tope suicida as Punk and Breaker battled ringside, leading to a double four-man countout. The fans obviously booed. Punk put Reed on the announce table. Jay was planning to splash him from the top rope. And I was like, you know what? That's going to be the most interesting thing Jay does in a long time. But Breaker annihilated him with a runaround spear, took out Punk. Breaker then leveled Jay with a rope run spear before Reed hit Tsunami. Punk chased them out with a steel chair and a callback to the open, but they brought their own chairs into the ring. That led Logan down for the save. He put brass knuckles on. Heyman jumped onto the apron, but Paul, of course, leveled Punk instead. Heyman stood in front of the Vision, telling them to attack if Logan touches him. Instead, Logan slowly handed him the brass knuckles and kind of stood staring at him as Raw went off the air. So it was clearly not a Heyman plan, but rather a surprise to him and the Vision, just the same as it was obviously Punk. I should clarify for new listeners. I write my notes live so as not to impact any thoughts I might have on earlier segments. Sometimes that includes me saying something and that being proven very wrong, but sometimes it includes me saying something and being proven very right. Clearly, my suspicion in this case of Logan being put in the position to basically take Rollins' place in War Games was accurate. That's at least how I read this. I don't see this at all as Logan taking his spot in the Vision. That would be 3 people for the heels if you have Logan, and the Brawns. 2 for the faces, Jay and CM Punk. You could add John Cena as the 3rd. Then you would just need to fill out the other 2 spots on each side, which is clearly achievable. The faces, you can do LA Knight and Jimmy Uso. You would need to find 2 heels. Anyway, the match, I don't want to say it was nothing because the Vision actually developed as a team during the match. That was positive and valuable, but running a double countout finish obviously sucked. The Logan conclusion was not groundbreaking by any means, but it was perfectly solid for what they're attempting to build. It's kind of funny. They gave him like 10% of a face turn just to go 110% back the other direction, but it did indeed build massive heat. I could see Punk Logan happening on Saturday night's main event next month as a throwaway title match to draw additional viewers to Cena's retirement. As long as it's not anything more than that, I'm probably not going to have much of a problem with it. All in all, not my taste, not what I would have booked. Don't want to see Punk Logan or have him involved in this storyline, but objectively, it was a strong close after a strong open to Raw. The crowd reacted exactly as WWE wanted. Logan was a legitimate surprise both in the opening moment and then aligning with the Vision. Not a surprise that heels aligned with heels, but the way they accomplished it. And Punk exits the show as an even bigger babyface than he was entering the show as new champion. And by the way, he sold the hell out of that brass knuckle shot. He went down, boom, right on the canvas. Yep. So as far as I was concerned, mission accomplished here.
Yeah, I kept going back and forth on, is this creating Punk Logan for the title? And then I thought, no, I think it's building toward a War Games. Like you said, without him necessarily joining the Vision.
Right.
So the segment worked. Once he came in with the brass knuckles and stood next to Punk, I was like, oh, he's just punching him. And now that I see it, I know it's coming, and it happened. So like ultimately, it worked out for an episode of a TV show that's slowly going to build towards something else. It got there in the end. I still hate everything about the Punk Jay stuff, and I'm not sure what they kind of do from a team standpoint. Maybe LA Knight pops back in potentially. So overall, it worked out. That was good.
There are some, potentially interesting through lines. Like, is Jay playing nice? Did Heyman get in his head? Does he, I can't imagine him joining the Vision, but does he turn heel in the War Games match? Don't forget, WWE has used War Games in that way. Previously, they've used other major matches in that way where something happens in it that is almost more important than the match happening itself. There's the LA Knight factor, CM Punk not mentioning his name on the show, him not being on the episode at all, out of sight, out of mind. Does he come back and, I'll be a babyface, I'll do this, and then possibly turn heel? Would you want to turn him heel, even though he's as over as a babyface as he is? There's the Jimmy Uso factor. He wasn't on the show either. We've been getting Jay and Jimmy every week. So there's a lot of questions about what is going to happen on this build to War Games. And the positive tip is there's still a month to get there. But I will say, Chris, what's frustrating me about War Games is this. When Triple H took over WWE Creative, during some interview or press conference, I forget, he made a point to say that he was no longer going to force annual events like Hell in a Cell because a match like that should be used when a feud calls for it. And WWE subsequently held off on continuing Hell in a Cell. It has only used it once for Bad Blood, appropriately for the Punk Drew McIntyre blow-off match. And yet, War Games has been brought up from NXT to the main roster, and it now happens every year, with the last couple of years, this one included, not really having feuds or factions that are significant enough for the match to make sense. Both 2022 matches were built well. The last few years, though, it feels like they've mostly been doing them just to do them. Putting Survivor Series in a stadium this year, they had no choice. You need a hook, and War Games is that hook. But it really works much, much better when you have a faction large enough or a feud hot enough to demand that match type. And they just don't have that right now. The Vision has 2 members. For the women, the Kabuki Warriors are the big bads. They also have 2 members. If Hell in a Cell is only going to be used when feuds deserve it, ideally, War Games would be reserved in similar fashion. If not, you got to create storylines that fit this type of match involving enough people for this type of match to make sense. And right now, WWE has not really done that. Yes, there's a month to go. They will develop it and they will build it, and I'm sure it'll all make sense in the end. But when you don't have a faction that has at least 4, 5 members, or a faction that has 3, a group, I guess, that has 3, but has a relationship with other heels where those 5 coming together makes a lot of sense. At the end of the day, it's kind of just an amalgamation of people. And so far, it feels like that's what this is going to be.
I'm going to say it now. I'm going to say it as we get closer to the show. Survivor Series should be Survivor Series by default. That one I'm okay with sticking with a gimmick match.
Mm-hmm.
And then in certain years when it calls for it,
exactly,
you make it War Games.
Mm-hmm.
You have William Regal decide, no, this one is going to be War Games, right. And do, because like
Survivor Series is not enough to contain this match. It needs to be the Bloodline feud 2023. I want to say.
Yeah.
When it was Bloodline, Roman Reigns team against Solo Sikoa team, that was War Games. Like, okay, it's a family dynamic. You all hate each other. The first 2 War Games, like I said, in 2022, they did a really good job making that stipulation become necessary. Other years, also, it just hasn't been.
I think the other thing is like in TNA, NXT did Survivor Series matches, and I liked that. Like
on TV,
but, yeah, but I guess we're never really doing that back on the main roster.
It seems like it's not going to happen. It's so strange too, Chris, because for the first time in a long time, the last couple of years, they've had 2 legitimate authority figures that people actually like. Okay, Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce, they're doing a great job. There is a level, and I think 2 years ago, I want to say, it seemed like they were building brand warfare again, where like they were getting antsy with one another, and there were people like showing up on both shows. And I was like, oh wow, they're going to do a Survivor Series. And then they just didn't do it. And I don't understand why, because there are so many people on these brands. You don't need to have CM Punk and Braun Breaker and Seth Rollins and Roman Reigns in a Survivor Series match. Just put on an awesome match with people representing these brands. Give me, Dragon Lee and Ilya Dragunov and JD McDonough and Finn Balor. Like, give me the wrestlers and have these guys go and do a 10-man elimination match that just straight up bangs. And yeah, give me, a semblance of a storyline to it. Brand supremacy, Aldis and Pierce getting a beef. Something's on the line because of it. Maybe the number 30 spot in the Royal Rumble is on the line. Do something interesting, but bring back at least one Survivor Series match every year. And if you want it to alternate between the men and the women, then have it alternate between the men and the women. That's fine too.
Agree.
I think we've said this before. If you want to do 1 War Games and 1 Survivor Series, and you alternate the gender of those based on storyline and based on what makes sense, that would work for this show. But we don't need 2 War Games, and we should have at least 1 Survivor Series. So we'll see. All right, so wrapping up the main event, let's talk John Cena and the Last Time Is Now tournament, which is quite wordy, but nevertheless the official name of that event.
Should be called The Last Tournament Is Now or
Indeed.
Something.
WWE is running a kayfabe lottery drawing for participants in this Cena bracket, though we did not get to see them be chosen out of the hopper. Instead, on Monday night, it was Adam Pearce just naming the first 4 participants that he said were selected randomly. At least we saw a video of the hopper in the background, so they showed us that this is happening, but we didn't actually get to see it happen live, the name get pulled out, the whole 9 yards. The 4 names chosen in the first 2 matches are Damian Priest against Rusev and Shinsuke Nakamura against Sheamus. Just so happens that both of them are Raw versus SmackDown, and one of them, of course, is babyface versus heel. But those 4 names, Damian Priest, Rusev, Shinsuke Nakamura, and Sheamus.
4 big men slapping meat equals excitement.
On the surface, not bad. all legitimate contenders. Digging into it, Chris, 1/4 of the tournament is now set. And the average age of the participants is 44. 44. They literally picked 4 of the probably 8 oldest dudes they could on the roster. At least we're getting fresh matchups from a brand alignment standpoint. But that's not that exciting. I like the double babyface match of Nakamura and Sheamus. We know, I expect at least Priest will beat Rusev. I just wish they were more unique matches at the onset. Like, I don't want NXT fighting TNA in a match. I want NXT versus Raw. I want Joe Hendry versus Shinsuke Nakamura. I want fun stuff like that. Now, we'll see what happens with the other 12 participants. Ultimately, I will say they got like 40% of the way toward fulfilling our request from the Saturday Night's Main Event instant analysis on how to structure this. Better than 0%, but certainly not as positive as actually running the drawing, showing the entire bracket. I understand not announcing all the matches at once. Also, people can get hurt, or you may want to change a plan or something. So you want to give yourself some flexibility. That's cool. I feel like they could have at least pulled the names for the first 4, slotted them into a bracket, shown us the bracket, and then gone from there. Chris, what do you think about this?
Well, one of the main things I asked for after Saturday night's main event was to explain to us and show us how it's picked, because they had just said in that video, chosen at random.
Right.
What does that mean? We don't know. So they went through the effort to give us a tumbler. Now,
a clip of one. Yes.
And I appreciate that. However, when they were spinning the tumbler, nothing was moving. They were too big. The things inside.
Oh, really?
It wasn't moving at all. Like, it was turning, but none of the things were like falling over themselves. So that was kind of funny. But that's all I wanted. Just give me an explanation as to how this is happening. And they did. So thank you for that. As for these first 4 people, only one of them I'm even like okay with it being a last Cena opponent. And that is Sheamus. It's not going to be also, none of these 4 are going to be the guy.
No,
I think that's part of the letdown.
Agreed.
Is we know none of them are going to be the winner. And so that's kind of a not interesting way to start it. And I worry if we get to a point where it becomes very obvious who it is, or we know it's going to be 1 or 2 people, like surely there was a bigger name, a Randy Orton or somebody you could have put in this first batch just to make us think like, oh, he might be the guy. And then every time you give us a couple more, oh, it could be that person. Oh, it might be that person. Instead, we got 4 people. We know it's not going to be matchups that technically are fresh, but they're not interesting.
Yeah, right.
So, like 40%, I'm with you, but I think 35 of that 40% was showing us a tumbler that doesn't work.
I agree, though. Like, fresh, yes. But I mean, look, Nakamura and Sheamus have definitely fought a bunch of times, but it hasn't happened in a long time. Priest and Rusev probably have never fought. So that is like totally fresh. But as I said, their average age is 44. And
that's not, by the way, and that's not including Cena in the, at the end of the tournament.
Yeah, but I'm just saying of these 4 dudes, though. That's what I'm saying. I'm just the average age of these 4 dudes. None of them are younger than 39 years old. This tournament, he initially started it by saying he wants to give opportunity to someone. And I know there's going to be NXT talent in here. And they said people outside of WWE. I assume it's going to be singularly Joe Hendry. I'd be surprised if it's like a shock name beyond that, or Jeff Hardy or Dolph Ziggler, people who were in WWE previously that I mentioned on the Saturday Night's Main Event instant analysis. But when you have 16 spots and these are the first 4 that you choose, you just look at it and you're like, you want something really interesting in there at the initial announcement. Yep. Like, why not? I'm not saying this person specifically had to be in there, but like, why not Dominik Mysterio or Braun Breaker or Carmelo Hayes or Trick Williams? Like, one of those should have been part of this first wave. And if you didn't want those matches to happen next week on Raw, and let me also clarify, one of the reasons I believe they chose these 4 dudes and they're running these 2 matches next week is because John Cena is going to be on the show in Boston. So they're booking people on the show who are super over and familiar to the audience that knows and likes John Cena. So Nakamura, Sheamus, Priest, Rusev, he had a long time feud with. He's probably going to do a stare down with Rusev on the show. I would assume maybe he'll do one with Sheamus as well. So they're doing this for a reason. They know the audience they're, playing to with Cena on the episode. At the same time, it's another missed opportunity to do something that feels a little bit fresh. And while that may come at other parts of the tournament, if you're talking about creating opportunity for someone, and the 4 people that you announced to start are average age 44 years old, they've had opportunities. Damian Priest has been World Heavyweight Champion. Rusev's contended for it. He's had mid-card titles. Shinsuke Nakamura.
By the way, Rusev fought John Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah. Shinsuke Nakamura had a world title match at WrestleMania, won the Royal Rumble. Sheamus has been a multi-time world champion. They've had opportunities. You're not creating shit for any of them.
Yeah.
So that's why I was disappointed with it Monday night. I'm not trying to go too crazy about 1/4 of the field, but it is 1/4 of the field. It's a significant portion. So they got to nail the other 3/4. Otherwise, I'm going to be pretty frustrated. You and I were really all about this on the Saturday Night's Main Event Instant Analysis. We thought this was a great idea. It still may be a great idea, but they didn't get all the way where they needed to get initially is what I'm saying.
Yep.
All right, man. Look, we still have a ton to talk about from Raw and SmackDown, but before we get to that, I need you all to remember that here at Getting Over,
I happen to love the number 5.
and I hope you do as well, because for $5 a month or $50 for the entire year, you can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover, sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Please support us. We are a free show, and we would greatly appreciate that financial support. You get extra content too, and it's a win-win for everyone. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Chris, now that we are out of the main event, it is time to break down everything else that happened on Raw and SmackDown this week. And as always, we're going to do that by covering the good, the bad, and the ugly.
Hey, yo. Survey says 1 more for the good guy.
Say hello to the back.
Don't sing it. Bring it.
Dominik Mysterio hit the ring by himself, getting a crazy initial pop on Raw and a really loud mixed reaction when he grabbed the mic. Once he spoke, it turned heavily positive. He said he's proven he's the greatest luchador, intercontinental, and AAA mega champion of all time, with there being no man on the planet who can stop him. Enter that deadbeat piece of shit dad, Rey Mysterio, to an even more massive pop and a holy shit chant. Unmuted, as I mentioned, by Netflix.
Thank you!
Rey said Dom can claim whatever he wants. He's not king of the luchadors. Fans did the dirty, dirty Dom chant, with Rey smartly pausing to let it hit, before saying Dom keeps insulting their family and their blood. What about El Santo, Blue Demon, Eddie Guerrero, even louder pop? Dom responded, quote, "Keep my father's name out of your mouth."
Ah! Yes! I love that!
One of the lines of the year. Dom said he's better than all of them, but forget those guys. He knows for a fact he's better than Rey. Mysterio said he didn't care about being disrespected, but he wouldn't let him shit on Lucha Libre. Fans chanted, "Whoop his ass," that's a new one, before Rey agreed to leave as long as Dom understood when he's around, he'll never be king. He'll never own the WWE ring, and he'll never be the greatest Mysterio. Dom tried a cheap shot, but Rey immediately got up on him with a 619, looking spry as hell for a 50-year-old.
50! Wow, I forgot about that.
Indeed. Chris, 10 out of 10 segment, no notes. Perfection achieved. Obviously, the perfect location to run this return in New Mexico complicates the potential Dominik Cena booking that we discussed for Survivor Series. But if you remember, Silver King has been booking Rey and Dom for the AAA Mega title for Survivor Series in San Jose since SummerSlam. It's been a no-brainer move since then, but especially since Dom confirmed it and won the AAA Mega title. The sequencing of this segment was pitch perfect. The Eddie Guerrero father line was killer, and they simply could not have executed it any better. Maybe one of the best promos of Rey's entire career, at least his WWE career. He's not a known stick man, but he was flawless. Dominik himself was pitch perfect. I wish I had more to say about it, but as I indicated at the start, it was perfection achieved. Obvious good.
So 9.5 out of 10 for me. We did also fantasy book Cena Dom at Survivor Series, but we didn't know Rey was cleared. So
correct.
Now that we know he is, Rey Dom makes the most sense.
And the booking I gave of Rey and Dom preceded that by months. I mean, it was, it made so much sense to do this match on that show. No question.
Right. I'm just saying, because we talked about it, I think Saturday night, we even mentioned that idea, but forget about that. This is what we're doing. And I like it. My only thing is that I felt like Rey's return, like that moment in return pop, could have been better structured. And it's not anybody involved's fault. It's not the New Mexico crowd's fault. It was just Dom talking and then Rey's music hits. And I felt like you could have built to that moment better by having Dom beat somebody in a quick match. Have him beat I don't even know who's on the Rey Fenix or one of the many luchadors you have.
Dragon Lee or something. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Dragon Lee's the tag champ, but
sure.
Have Dominik win that match and then, like in a quick match, and then start proclaiming himself again as the best. See, there's nobody else who can do this. And then Rey's music hits and you're like, whoa. Because like I'd forgotten that Rey had been out since pre-WrestleMania. Like he's been gone for a long time.
Yeah, Creed Brothers heard him.
And this could have and should have been one of those like WWE's greatest returns, like to set up the Dom Rey match again. And everything they did afterward, the promo back and forth, everything perfect. Absolutely. They nailed it. I'm super excited about it. It's going to be great. I just feel like they could have put a little bit more effort into building up Dom in the moment before the Rey return to really make that pop even more. That's nitpicking. It was still great. Loved everything about it. But I was like, oh man, like one little thing and you could have made this like 11 out of 10 basically.
Yeah, so that's a good for you. I think you're really nitpicking because
I am.
But here's why I say that. I don't believe there was anything wrong with the structure. He was there. He was getting an incredible response from the crowd. He said all the things you're talking about him saying. You're just saying ideally it would have come after an attack where he is really drawing heat. The problem is in 2025, Dom isn't a full heel right now. He's a tweener. The fans love him too much.
I know.
So if this was Dom, the way he was getting crowd responses 2 years ago, but with the progression he's made in 2025, then you could have gotten an 11 out of 10 return. But the other thing is you can't legislate the way a crowd is going to respond, and you can't predict when you're going to have an all-time return. Example, John Cena returned, I want to say it was at Madison Square Garden for the Royal Rumble a couple months after he suffered an injury that they said was going to keep him out longer. I don't remember the exact year because this is the time when I wasn't watching and I had to catch up on WWE. It's quite possible. Now, I know John Cena was crazy over at the time, right? But it's quite possible that the fans would have wanted someone else to win that Royal Rumble. So when he showed up, they're cheering for him, but like then he gets into the match and maybe he doesn't get the response that he otherwise would have gotten because someone else in that match was someone they wanted. That may not even be the best example that I'm using. The point I'm saying, though, is you can never say for sure the way a crowd is going to react to a moment, a situation, a build to an individual return. Here, when it came to their response in New Mexico, I don't think they could have been louder or more excited or anything like that. And I don't know if Dom had cheated to beat Penta for the title. See, I vanquished another of your favorite luchadors. That's why I'm king of the luchador, doing what you're saying. I don't know that would have made him louder or would have made the moment any better. So it's fair to say it wasn't perfect and that it could have been better. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just don't know that you're actually right, is what I'm
Yeah,
saying.
your point though that like I don't know if Dom can get to mega heat again because he
Right.
is too much of a tweener and people like him. And they're even chanting Dirty Dom when Rey is talking, you know? He's
right. They were cheering for him with Rey in the ring, yet still booing him at the same time because they like Rey more.
There may simply not have been a way to create enough heat for Dom in that moment.
That's what I'm saying.
That wasn't half cheering. So that is fair because he very much is at that point.
Yeah.
So like you would have had to do like have the Judgment Day out there or Roxanne or something to kind of you would have to put in you'd have to figure out something. You'd have to have something around him that could help create that heat because Dom himself is not creating that because people just like him too much now.
Yeah, you would have had to have put him against someone who was just like mega like Jay or LA Knight. And I don't even know if they're technically more over than him. I mean, they are. They're more pure baby faces, but like you would have had to have him do something so dastardly to get the crowd to fully boo him. I don't think they would have. I mean, you heard the response to him. Like
what if Judgment Day is out there and he beats Penta by cheating and they're holding Penta down and Dom's got the ring bell again, the hammer for the bell again, and he's about to hit him, and then Rey's music hits. I don't know. We're going off track here.
I think to your point, I think the initial pop would have been the same because I don't think they could have gotten louder for Rey. Maybe the segment that followed would have been different, but I don't know that it would have been because Dom is crazy over right now. Like, so I think this was honestly as well done as it could have been given their alignment, and that's why I believe Rey's promo was so good because he could have gotten maybe not booed, but not supported. Instead, they were all on his side, even while they were simultaneously chanting for his son.
Yeah.
And that's extremely difficult to accomplish.
This is going to be so cool, man.
So that's what I wanted to talk about.
in San Diego.
Yeah,
we 619.
We went way too long. Awesome. We went way too long talking about the Raw segment. I want to talk about what's next, right? So if Dom and Rey is run at Survivor Series as we expect, right? Obviously it won't be, but I'm telling you, it could be the main event.
Yeah.
Like that's how insane the crowd is going to go for this match. If this was a 2-night Survivor Series, not that I'm trying to give WWE any ideas, it could easily main event night 1. That's how insanely hype the crowd will be for these two guys in San Jose. I'm not even sure what else is going to be San Diego, excuse me. I'm not even sure what else is going to be booked for the show. And frankly, I'm not sure I'm going to be looking forward to anything else more than this, assuming it happens and Cena is not involved like we thought was possible. And by the way, as much as Dom and Cena on that show would have been great, Dom and Rey is better, even if we've seen it before, simply due to the location and the meaning behind it. But you know what, Chris? Now that I'm thinking about it, is there any way, or am I crazy, that he fights twice on one show and drops both titles?
I don't think so, because I think that's too much of a moment, Rey and Dom, that you don't
want to soil it at all?
Yeah.
I agree. It'd be insane. Also, they're not going to, with 2 War Games, presumably, having 2 Dom matches, you're taking up too much with one person, basically.
Yeah.
It really wouldn't make sense.
No. And like, nobody even really talked about, like, Rey and Dom have fought twice at WrestleMania now because they were in the whole tag thing, or the multi-man, whatever, when the Philadelphia Eagles got involved at WrestleMania 40. But that 39 match, like, that's still like, I couldn't tell you if I remember the match itself, but I remember the moment.
But what's awesome,
the entrances,
the best move
in all of that.
Sorry to interrupt you. The best move they made, though, was when they moved Rey from the brand, and they've kept them apart. They still have interactions every once in a while, like twice a year. They interact, so you know they still hate each other and they haven't made up, but they haven't come back to this. And now they've finally circled around, and it's hotter than it ever was before. Not only because of the anticipation and the time, but because Dom is so much better than he was previously.
Yes.
So here's my other question. If we're going Dom and Rey at Survivor Series, what do you think, potentially, about Dominik winning the Last Time Is Now tournament and then Cena beating him in his final match for the Intercontinental title? For me, it would be a little bit too similar to Sting winning the tag team titles and then relinquishing them in his retirement. I hated that. But I'm just thinking of other ways that we can get Cena and Dom and the title on the line. That way Cena can win it before he retires.
No, at this point, I don't want the last win to be wins the title and relinquishes it. I hate that.
Yeah.
It's also what heel John Cena kind of said he was going to do with the real world championship.
Right.
So
True.
I don't want to do that. I get the idea, but I'm
just trying to think of other ways to make it happen, because I believe he has 4 appearances left. Raw is going to be one. I believe Survivor Series is going to be another. Then one show on Raw before Saturday night's main event. You could have him just randomly challenge Dom on that episode and win the title. I mean, that could happen. You could do that.
But then if you want to have him show up, win the IC title, lose it on his way out to somebody, like that I can get.
So like Raw next week or whatever it is, I think it's next week that it's in Boston and Cena's there. He just shows up and he's setting up the tournament and he's setting up everything else. Maybe he gets into it with Dom backstage, whatever. Survivor Series, they do Survivor Series. Maybe he's in the War Games match. It seems like that's going to happen. The next Raw, his penultimate appearance, randomly gets into it with Dominik, wins the IC title. Then when he fights the winner of the tournament, the title's on the line because it's his final match. He loses, drops the title.
I personally would like it, but I don't think they're going to put the IC title in the tournament. Is now the John Cena story to the end.
I agree. Yeah.
And I think putting a title around it just kind of convolutes it. I would like it, but I don't think it happens.
If they had done it at Survivor Series for the title, then it would be enough of a runway where you could say, oh, okay, cool. But to change it 1 week before, it doesn't really make sense.
No, the real thing is Dom shouldn't have the title. That's the problem. But
that's the real. Yeah, that's correct. He should have already dropped it. And Penta really should be champion if we're being serious about it. But all right. One other quick note, by the way, this is 20 years since the death of Eddie Guerrero, November 13th, 2005. So the Mysterio match is going to happen a couple weeks shy of the 20-year anniversary. Makes it even more special. And I wonder if they factor that into the storytelling at all. It'd be pretty interesting. All right. That was a lot of talk about the Mysterio clan. We have plenty more to discuss from Raw and SmackDown. Becky Lynch surprised by jumping on the announce table out of the crowd, interrupting commentary with a mic in her hand. I think she told Joe Tessitore to shut his mouth. Lynch had a lot to get off her chest since she had a hot husband injured at home, the Vision ruining their plans, a crooked referee holding her down, and Adam Pearce sending her home to cool down when she's always been cool. Lynch destroyed the crowd, saying the only cool thing about New Mexico is a TV show about how much meth they do.
Now go home and smoke some more crack.
She completely broke Wade Barrett here, by the way. Dude lost his mind laughing. Becky blamed the fans for making Maxine Dupree believe she belongs because you don't survive by being lucky, you survive by being good. Lynch said she's not a test Maxine can study and pass. One wrong move, next time they fight, it'll be the last match of her career. And then she screamed, "Welcome to the big time," spiked the mic, concluding what I believe is a legitimate promo of the year contender. As she exited, the Kabuki Warriors entered, leading to a Becky Asuka face-to-face that, well...
Oh! Yes! I love that!
I think you may have something here.
With a tear in my eye.
Not quite sure what the end goal of Becky Asuka showdown will be, paying off. They're both heels. They're far away from being faces, but maybe it's just a build for War Games. Let's just selfishly hope Asuka doesn't get her pregnant again. As I said, promo of the year contender, Becky Lynch is the GOAT, the best to ever do it on the mic. And it's not just her saying that. It's me saying that. Getting Over is saying that. I did wish she spent a little bit more time talking about Rollins and the Vision, and I remain extremely worried that they might have Dupree beat her for the title when that should not even be a remote possibility, considering how high the championship has been elevated. But as long as that doesn't happen, anything else will be fine. And no, I'm not going to accept it if AJ Lee helps Maxine, unless Becky literally wins it back 1 to 2 weeks later and Dupree is a blip on the radar. But this was extremely good. High energy segment. It kept the crowd hype coming out of the Mysterios. Hell of a stretch for Raw on Monday night.
It's good. It's going to be hard to narrow down Becky promos of the year, frankly, when we get to the meaties.
She's been awesome.
I do worry that this is kind of going on for so long that it almost has to end with the Dupree win. So we'll see.
I mean, it's going to come out. I think what it had been was that she was training with Natty. It's going to come out, I think, that she's going to train with AJ. And like, that'll be how she beats Bex. And it's just really depressing if that's what they do, because Maxine cannot carry that title. And that championship is elevated almost to main event status because of Lyra and Becky, what they did with it.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it is just the women's IC title. It's not a women's world title. And if you were to say in a vacuum, what kind of singles title could you win? You'd say, oh, maybe the women's US, or
the
maybe
US, not the IC though. They have different levels right now.
Yeah, you're right. The IC is so much higher than the women's US, and that US would make more sense. But it is a secondary title. The fact that this continues to go on, it does feel like it almost has to win with the Dupree win, just because how much time they're putting into it.
But if it does, then you literally need Becky to demand a rematch immediately, do it next week, and she wins the title back. Like that's the only way you can book this. You cannot have Maxine Dupree go over Becky and then just be champion. Like,
well, and it's not good if the story coming out of Becky losing to Dupree is AJ Becky.
Right. I'm angry. I'm angry at AJ and forget the title and whatever. Like,
yeah,
AJ should be the one winning that title. And no, I don't necessarily want it on a veteran who comes in and is part-time. I ideally don't. But that should really be it. So that's why I'm concerned about it. Maybe AJ trains her and we see like montages of it, and Maxine comes really, really, really close. Becky cheats and wins. Then AJ gets into it with her, and then they feud to Royal Rumble and AJ wins the title. I mean, maybe it's something like that, but just fingers crossed, man. And this isn't even disrespect to Maxine, because she has improved and she's trying hard and she's working her butt off training, is my understanding. But like, she's not at the level of that title. If WWE had a third women's singles title below that, sure, like a TV championship. Okay, fine, give her a run, whatever. But that's not this. This is a legitimate title that's been built up with two incredible champions so far. And I just don't want them to ruin that, which is something WWE did in the past with the men's mid-card titles. You'd have John Cena carry the US title, and you'd be like, oh my God, they're really elevating this. He'd lose it, it'd be okay, and then all of a sudden it would just go into the doldrums. You can't have that happen. Kabuki Warriors got a Japanese language promo package with subtitles. Kairi Sane refused to allow disrespect toward Asuka, who said she's the one true legend of the women's division. They said last week's destruction was just a taste of what they can do, and basically, they're on a warpath. Asuka said she has not forgotten what Bayley did to them, adding that they were kind last week, but would do whatever is necessary to prove they're the most dominant team in WWE. I didn't mind the Asuka Legend package last week, but this was way better in all phases. The visuals, the production, getting an actual promo from them, advancing their characters and the story. The continuity with Bayley was important. That got alluded to last week in the main event, and then we got it here in the promo. This was good.
Very good. Love everything about it. Asuka continues to everything about it right now is so captivating. I love it.
Yeah, home run after home run. Bayley and Lyra Valkyria against the Kabuki Warriors. Lyra backstage approached Bayley, asking why she was in her head after last week. Bayley said it was due to the way the Warriors treated her after the match, and she insisted multiple times that she was fine, even doing their new handshake before hitting the ring. Valkyria did a great short-form gut-wrench powerbomb to shift the momentum for Bayley's hot tag. She got caught not knowing Kairi blind tagged, but Bayley dodged insane elbow and hit Bayley to belly for a false finish. Bayley followed with a sunset flip powerbomb into the corner with Lyra hitting peripateia. An Asuka distraction allowed a Kairi hanging double stomp, but the faces came back with a backbreaker elbow drop combo. Bayley prevented the tandem insane elbow before Asuka countered Nightwing, running Lyra into Bayley, bouncing the ladder off the apron. Valkyria tried to take out Asuka with a springboard, but she got caught midair for an Asuka lock and the submission victory by the Warriors. The heels threatened Lyra after the bell, only for Alexa Bliss and Charlotte Flair to run down for the save, and basically everything ended from there. Excellent match with character building for both teams, an awesome finish, including an actual tap out that we do not get anywhere near enough in WWE. Yeah. Commentary did a tremendous job putting Lyra over. I think Joe Tessitore even said at one point something like, wow, Lyra really is the future, isn't she? This women's tag team division is on absolute fire. They have purpose, agency, reasons for teaming up, reasons for fighting one another outside of the title picture, and all the matches, most importantly maybe, are getting plenty of time so the women can actually be showcased, develop the division, and get the crowd interested. I'd actually have preferred no save at the end, continue the awkwardness between the Warriors and Bayley, and I'd have liked to see Bayley's reaction to Lyra losing. But I kind of feel like that's nitpicking something that really doesn't deserve it because it was so on point. Bonus points for Kyrie being a heel, but somehow still acting like a face, which is very tough to do. 4 stars, A-, good.
Really good. Got an actual tap out, a good finish. Stories, characters, like the women's division and the women's tag division, like, is really the best stuff in WWE right now across the board. And, you know, every time we get going with the women's tag division, something goes wrong and it blows up, but they're again trying to make it work, and they're very much making it work right now. And it's great. Like, think about this. We've got like Bayley, Charlotte, Alexa Bliss, Asuka, all around women's tag team right now. Like,
yeah,
that's exactly what you want.
You're leaving people out. Lyra Valkyria, Io Sky, Rhea Ripley.
I just mean like like these are 4 people who are like Hall of Famers. Like, they're gonna be
sure, but those are future Hall of Famers I just mentioned. Io and Rhea are like solidified for that as well. Like,
yeah,
they're maybe the biggest team out of all of these right now, and
yeah,
they're not even on TV. They're taking a break, which well deserved. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I just meant the people in this segment here.
Sure,
like,
sure.
It's full of like superstar level people, and that's putting an effort into making this women's tag division mean something, and it's very much noticed and appreciated.
It's literally the best it's ever been right now in the history of the women's tag team titles in WWE. The most teams, the most competent teams, teams with reasons for wanting to fight each other, reasons for existing together and teaming up. It's a compelling, complete division for the first time ever, and the creative team does deserve a lot of credit for that. One minor negative, they're still telling the Bayley split personality in her own head type of deal, but they're not showing it anymore. And
yeah,
we're not really seeing her outside of the match last week where I think Lyra like yelled at her and then Bayley snapped and changed the way she was wrestling. We're not getting it from a character standpoint backstage. And I know they're not giving up on it because they're still kind of referencing it, but they're not showing us. It's one thing to tell. It's another thing to show. And that was missing from Raw on Monday night. I don't want them to go away from it because that actually has been making Bayley a more compelling character than she's been in years.
Agree.
Since I mentioned the tag team champions, let's circle back a bit out of order. We usually do everything in order, but we're going to go to SmackDown here. Bliss fought Nia Jax. Bliss and Flair backstage did their friendship gimmick before Flair said Jax had no friends because she's a Gemini. I got to say, having Charlotte like go deep with the female astrologist gimmick would be kind of fun, maybe. Bliss said she was ready to show again that she's outgrown Nia. Alexa got caught flying off the apron, eating snake eyes into the barricade as Nia dominated through the commercial. Bliss dodged Jax into the ring post, but Nia caught her on the top rope for a Samoan drop, despite Alexa not being totally in position. Flair distracted during Annihilator, allowing Bliss to kick her leg out, drop an elbow, and fold Jax onto herself for the win. The finish was better than the match, which saw them moving like they were in quicksand. It was slow as hell, not exciting. Fans barely got up for it, despite Bliss generally being super over. Like I said, the ending was the best part because that's actually how you utilize a roll-up equivalent to end a match. Like a much bigger woman who you have to figure out a way to beat. But flatly, for me, this was bad. It was like a 1-star match. It kind of looked like these two had never even spoken before, let alone wrestled together. Such a massive step down from how the women's division looks on Raw. But Chris, that's SmackDown for you.
Yeah, I mean, like this is a former WrestleMania match.
Yeah.
That had an amazing story and a payoff. Kind of wild to think back at Nia Jax the face, but like it worked at the time. I'm gonna actually give this a light good. I was ultimately okay with it in the end, and you're right. That's how you finish it. You do it that way. Charlotte helps Alexa. It was fine. I didn't hate it. I'll give it a light good.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting because the women's tag team title match between Bliss and Flair and the Kabuki Warriors is actually happening next week on Raw. Completely deserved number 1 contendership by the heels. Surprised it's being run on TV so quickly when this easily could have been built stronger for Survivor Series. Maybe they need to make a change because they want Io Sky and Rhea Ripley to take the straps at WrestleMania or something. Maybe they're doing this now because they need to involve these women in War Games and they want to get this match initially out of the way. But that is happening next week on Raw. Also, considering the faces used the distraction to win against Nia, Wouldn't be surprised if Jax winds up introducing a friend, potential teammate next week. There's obviously an easy option on the show in Candice LeRae. They teamed together previously. I imagine it's going to be someone else. Candice is kind of doing her own thing with DIY. Flair and Jax was booked for next week on SmackDown. That should be a better match. And therefore, again, because of the 2-on-1 we got this past Friday, it would make sense for Nia to kind of even the sides this Friday. Stephanie Vaquera and Nikki Bella fought Judgment Day on Raw. Didn't love that Bella entered second, so the faces came out to her music rather than that of the women's world champion. Nikki took a lot of punishment before hitting a tornado DDT, leading to a hot tag and a dominant showing against Raquel Rodriguez, including a perfect crossbody. Raquel murked her with a short-range lariat to the back of the head before Stephanie stopped a Roxanne Perez double springboard moonsault, hitting a backdrop and devil's kiss to a huge pop. Bella tagged for a Rack Attack 2.0 and a broken fall. Rodriguez then caught Vaquera flying, only to get dumped outside in a leg lock. She tried Devil's Kiss on the ring apron. Instead, she got dropped headfirst into it. Nikki and Roxy slowed down on a pinning combination, but Rodriguez slugged Bella through the ropes, allowing Perez to hit Pop Rocks on the Hall of Famer for her second straight win over Nikki Bella. The fans chanted it. This match was indeed awesome. Great work both ways, bell to bell. The finish being the lone kind of clunky part. That was unfortunate. But the way this was booked, all four of them came out looking strong, including Nikki somehow, despite the loss. This was probably the best she's wrestled since returning. Vaquera remains an absolute star. And now WWE has successfully legitimized two contenders for her title who actually deserve their opportunities. Roxy now has 2 wins over Nikki, which is awesome for her in the long term. Beyond that, it is super fresh for the women's division, considering how much star power, as you mentioned, is being used in the tag team scene on Raw. Easy good.
Definite good. Better match than Nikki Roxanne, so good job all around. And then we had the bit later with them that I found even more interesting.
We will come back to that, but we need to put a pin in it because the Judgment Day ladies celebrated in the clubhouse as Rodriguez informed the guys she was granted a title match against Vaquera next week. They were thrilled, ready to take care of their own business on Raw. Then Dom stormed in, furious about what happened with Rey, blaming the guys for not being out there getting his back. Finn Balor and JD McDonough reminded him, like, dude, you're the one who wanted the spotlight to yourself. You didn't invite us to your celebration. How can you expect us to be out there? Dom didn't understand why they were so upset. So when they left, Raquel reminded him that he's the entire reason they had to put the titles on the line in the first place and ultimately lost them. Roxy then convinced him to go be the bigger man, support his guys ringside for their match because he was not blameless. And there was a perfectly positioned picture of Liv Morgan directly between them in the background. Huge improvement from last week's clubhouse effort. Requested and delivered just like that. Funny how that happens, huh? Not entirely sure about Raquel getting the title match before Roxy, considering the latter's consecutive wins over Nikki. And I also question just doing it on Raw, but that depends entirely on what the plan is for the women's division at War Games. And plus, you do need big matches on TV. It's not like either of them are actually going to beat Stephanie, and having her defend the title, it's a huge improvement on what they did with Io Sky, hardly even being on TV when she was champion. The back and forth with the guys was also realistic, logical, perfectly accurate to the storyline. So after a hiccup last week, we are back to an easy good for the Judgment Day Clubhouse.
Yes. Good all around. Loved it.
Nikki later apologized to Stephanie for losing and putting her in a position to be forced to defend her title. Vaquera told Bella it was fine, don't worry about it. But Nikki was in her head, saying she's clearly not capable of keeping up with the rest of this division in 2025. Vaquera told her she needs to believe in herself more because she paved the way for them. We get it. She paved the way for the rest of the women. You don't have to say it like every third episode, but sweet segment that didn't exactly indicate a Nikki heel turn as I've expected would come eventually. I know I was hard on her a few weeks ago, but Nikki Bella has definitely stepped it up. She's getting more comfortable in the ring, and I like the angle they're running of her just losing to younger, better talent and now getting a complex out of it. And by the way, I feel like we've kind of done a disservice not recognizing Nikki over the last couple of weeks because, folks, respectfully,
Gonna look good, but she's got me saying, "Hey now!"
this was good.
Yeah, 100% on that last point. But I like this because this is exactly what I talked about. I don't know if it was last week. It might have been last week's show where I was like kind of what is Nikki Bella here for? What is her complicated legacy? And kind of like, I was just like, kind of, what is this? And this immediately went straight onto that.
Right.
And it kind of, in a very complex but also understandable way, laid that all out. And Nikki is apologizing to Stephanie and trying to put her over, and also putting Roxanne over. But at the same time, you could also be like, well, is Nikki just hanging on to Stephanie Vaquer to try to take some of her attention and fame right now?
Right.
And I think that's the point. And I think we are going to get to a point. Nikki Bella is going to turn heel on Stephanie Vaquer.
Has to.
In all of this. And it's going to be great. And I think they're doing a very good job laying the foundation for that. Because this is what we said before. Nikki's always been a much better heel than a face. And so just kind of like being here, happy to be here, put the young people over is fine and good. But using that to then be the catalyst for her heel turn is going to be, I think, really good.
Yeah.
So I'm very excited about what they're doing here. Like, Nikki's just out there losing, but I'm great. I'm Nikki Bella. Oh, I can't keep up. Feel bad for me. And then you feel, oh, no, actually, she's kind of leaning into this a bit as well. So I think this is really good foundational step to where we're going.
I completely agree. And look, no one wants Brie Bella wrestling in WWE, but if you used her for like a Twin Magic deal, like to maybe they fight for a number one contendership, even though like the beat the champion thing.
Beat the champion to be able to beat the champion. That doesn't make any sense.
I'm just saying, if they did that, you do the Twin Magic, she ends up getting a win on Vaquer, and then of course that leads to her getting a title match, and they fight, and Stephanie obviously wins. It could be extremely compelling, and the whole idea of like Nikki being okay with her current position until she's not, really fits for her character, persona, and what many people legitimately think about her. You know, I don't use this term in a degrading way. It's just a common term that people use, but like fame whore, right? Like she wants the attention, and she wants to be in the spotlight and be Hollywood. And of course she shows up at the first Raw on Netflix after being out of the company for such a long time, right? Like it plays into that aspect of her.
And there are people who think she is just trying to take the rub from Stephanie.
Correct.
And Roxanne and these young talent. And then you flip that around to exactly like, and that's how she becomes the heel.
Right.
That's what I think.
Like, people think that in reality. Clearly they're booking it that way. They want you to think that. And then they do it. And then she says, yeah, you know, you're the one getting attention. So I figured if I need to get somewhere these days, I have to be right by your side, Stephanie. And then you have Vaquer come back, and hopefully she can, you know, cut it in a promo and say, you were using this entire time. You're not the legend I believed in. You know, you weren't the reason why the women succeeded in WWE. The women succeeded in WWE despite people like you. And like, if you can really build that storyline, that shit's compelling, man. And people would love that. And then people really care about Nikki. Because right now, like, she got a great response in New Mexico. Let me be very clear about that. But prior weeks, she wasn't really getting that much, you know, in terms of crowd reaction. That's how you get
from
people
like Arizona. She's like from Arizona too, I think, right?
I don't know if they're from there or they lived there for a long time, but yes, Arizona and California is where they went back and forth. I think she lives in Napa now because they did that whole Napa thing on their show where they're like obsessed with wine and stuff. But regardless, you want to get the fans to really give a shit about Nikki. You turn her heel against Stephanie Vaquer, and they will care. I promise you that. World Tag Team Championship, phenomenally against Judgment Day. Odd that WWE did this whole thing asking people to figure out a name for the tag team champions, and then weeks later, they're still not using one. So I just called them that. The pace of this match was insane right out of the gate. McDonough took a crazy back body drop from Styles. Dragon went on a nuts run with Finn getting up on him, but missing coup de grace. He double countered into Sling Blade, leading to a double tag. And for some reason, Fireflies came out randomly with no preempting from the crowd. AJ did a baseball slide, taking out Dom ringside, so he distracted the referee during a cover attempt. McDonough then held Styles down atop his body for a coup de grace, but AJ moved. Finn murked JD. Styles then flung Balor into Mysterio, and while McDonough avoided a Styles clash, he ate a phenomenal forearm for a broken fall. Dom got caught trying to use the title on AJ. Sheamus ran him over ringside. Sheamus then distracted the referee as Balor tried to get him to like come in and fight. That allowed a shillelagh shot from Balor to Styles, with McDonough draping the arm for a flying broken fall from Lee. Sheamus destroyed Dom ringside. Dragon murked Finn with a tope con hero, and Styles literally pulled McDonough off the ropes by his feet directly into a Styles clash for the 1-2-3. Mother effer, this was an absolute
Banger.
match of the night, match of the week for WWE. And combined with the crowd response, I'd be surprised if it wasn't the match of the week overall in wrestling in terms of American TV. It was a strong defense by the champions, despite initially starting with a numbers disadvantage that should clear Judgment Day off their plate. But it seems like they're at least going to do a 6-man on the back of this. What's extra curious is the Sheamus involvement with Dom, because obviously Dom has that Intercontinental title, and it's the lone strap Sheamus has not won. So are they building Rey for the AAA Mega, Sheamus for the Intercontinental, and Cena, again, doesn't factor into that? That may indeed be the case at this juncture. And while it wouldn't be bad to switch from Dom to Sheamus, I did figure if he was ever going to win the title, it would be over someone more dominant physically. Anyway, this match was awesome. 4.25 stars A. It continued this insane stretch of Raw, the middle of the show Monday night. Segment after segment. Could not miss. This was good.
Good all around. At first I was like, oh, if we're doing a rematch, you know, I know we're not getting a title change, but they turned it into a great match, and the back end of it had a lot of story involved for what's moving forward. So really enjoyed it.
Ilya Dragunov got an extended video package that was extremely well produced, basically just showing him working out, being an overall badass. He again stated, quote, "Pain will entertain you," which remains a baller line. The song choice of this, though, little bit questionable. Didn't fit well. But that led into the next U.S. Open Challenge. Dragunov out there, answered by Nathan Frazier and then Tommaso Ciampa. Ilya chose to fight Frazier since he was out first, calling Ciampa a jackass. When I tell you there was zero response for Fraxium's music or their appearance, I cannot stress to you how depressing that was to see and hear. These guys have been done such a disservice by SmackDown Creative when they were fully on their way to getting over just a couple months ago. On to the match. Dragunov got busted open hard way during a commercial. Frazier avoided Constantine's special with a springboard inverted DDT, half of a running shooting star press. Ilya came back with something like a spike lift up Uranagi, but Frazier avoided a flying senton and hit a frog splash. Frazier's chest got absolutely shredded from chops. He had a tope con hero, full somersault, before a shotgun drop-kicking Dragunov backwards into the steel steps, landing a Phoenix splash for a 2.8 false finish followed. Ilya then took Nathan off the ropes with what was supposed to be a full release back suplex, but they neither had grip nor momentum. Frazier landed on his head and neck shoulder area in one of the scariest moments of the entire year. Could have been an absolute disaster. Ilya, the match was able to continue. Ilya followed with a powerbomb and an H-bomb for the retention in a finish that may have been shortened just out of concern following that spot. Dragunov put Frazier over after the bell, raising his arm. Ciampa then attacked with the teams and Ilya battling during commercial break, both in the arena and backstage. Amid the chaos, Tama Tonga picked up the United States title and then yeah-yeah'd in Ilya's face. Frazier's health, clearly the most important thing here. I was legitimately frightened watching that live. He's quite lucky. The match was excellent, of course, but with it being a 3-segment bout, some of the best action was actually not seen by you. During the first commercial break, again, Silver King did get to see that because I watched SmackDown on Netflix with NordVPN, nordvpn.com/gettingover. And then the match seemed to understandably end suddenly. Viewers really lost something with the 7 minutes of commercials here, but hopefully Frazier benefited from the exposure and the work rate. And I did enjoy how the Open Challenge concept was utilized to continue a separate feud. 4 stars, A-, good.
Yeah, good. I mean, this was obviously the kind of booking you do to create a good match. Just have a great wrestling match. So it's a little unfortunate, kind of that spot kind of hovered over all of that. Ultimately, though, it was good, and this is what you want from a U.S. title Open Challenge. You get some unexpected people who get some opportunities, and bing, bang, boom, you have some fun.
When this started and both of them were in the ring together, did you think they were about to do a triple threat Open Challenge? Because that's what I figured was going to happen with all of them there. I liked the match we got, but I thought that would have been more unique and interesting.
No, because it would have felt unfair, right?
I suppose. I mean, they say sometimes it's the first person to come out. Other times it's the first person to get in the ring. Other times it's the first person in the ring when the bell rings. So I don't know. Was it unfair? Maybe it would have been. I don't know. I just thought it would.
I mean, considering Fraxium's not doing anything, I guess it was possible.
I just thought it would have been more interesting if it was a 3-way with Frazier and Ciampa, because they both wanted it. And Dragunov's like, I'm a fighting champion. Sure, let's do both of you.
Yeah.
You know. Penta fought El Grande Americano. Tess was hysterical at the start of this match. He ripped Wade and Michael Cole for telling lies about him dancing like Penta naked in the mirror on a prior show. It was probably the most passion that Tess has had outside of like calling a match, like the action, or a major heel turn on television or something like that. But you couldn't help but smile at Wade, like finally someone taking a shot back at him. Ironically, Americano mocked Penta's dance ringside immediately after this, hit a rolling DDT inside. Penta answered with a tornado DDT off the ropes and a tope con hero. Bravo Americano tripped Penta on the ropes and then got ejected as Rayo Americano handed over the metal plate and interfered after a backstabber, getting ejected as well. He was also splashed ringside. El Grande tried to do the flying headbutt, but Penta super kicked him in the loaded mask and then hit Mexican Destroyer for the win. Then he escaped a 2-on-1 attack. I said escaped, I meant escaped. Great match. Surprising result. I figured the 1-on-3 disadvantage would be enough to have the heels win. I'm just not sure what this does for Penta, considering he's lost multiple Intercontinental Championship matches, unless they're going to level him up for Punk, and I don't see that happening the way everything stands. So that's really the question. Like, Penta got the win. It was an excellent bout, but why? I guess we'll have to find out. Probably would have been higher without the interference in terms of a grade, so I'm not grading it because it didn't really reach that threshold for me, but it was an obvious good.
Yeah, maybe it's just like Penta needs a win. You know, let's have something set up to give him a win. And you need that sometimes. So, seemed what it was.
That plays. Chelsea Green and Alba Fire confronted Julia and Kiana James, with the former saying Julia has ruined the United States Championship since winning it. Aldis was not about just giving her a title match for no reason, but Julia said she would be happy to prove Green didn't deserve it. Then Nikki Cross showed up in the foreground, not the background, so the foreground for the first time ever, looking scary, sending Chelsea and Alba running for their hills because this was Halloween. I still doubt Nikki actually gets booked for anything. Again, this was Halloween, so they probably just wanted her looking scary. Better segment than last week, with Kiana looking less like a stripper and more like a severely underdressed business person. Julia, though, I'm not sure why she's putting on this exaggerated affect on her speech. It is so off-putting and odd. The facial expressions are exaggerated. I'm going to say light bad here. It's just such weak creative. At least Julia's getting on TV, but it needs to be better for me to change my grade.
I'm giving this a light good because it was something with Chelsea Green and she's getting a match. And Chelsea has been underutilized all year. Everything she shows up and she makes better, including this segment. So just for that alone, I'm going to give it a light good.
Damian Priest got a promo package saying he doesn't hate Aleister Black, but he does take it personally. Priest said Black won't know when it's coming, but when he gets revenge, nothing will be able to stop him. Extremely scripted and uninspired. I also do not understand how Priest's whole gimmick is like Wepa now. He has a shirt that says it's Wepa time, but Wepa, as far as I know, is like an exclamation. So that's like saying it's WoW time. Really, really dumb. This was bad. The Black Priest feud reached a natural conclusion, yet it's being extended for no reason whatsoever.
Yeah, bad. I've not been interested in this at all. I think you can still do a lot with these guys. Just get them away from each other.
Yeah.
Try something else.
It should have ended with Black on top and, doing the turn, extra turn, whatever you want to call it, was Lena joining him, and that's all you needed. You don't have to keep going back to this well. Motor City Machine Guns took some candy from R-Truth and got into it with Solo Sikoa about winning the tag team titles from his family last year. They had a quick back and forth agreeing to what they expected would be a number one contendership for the tag team titles without any authority figure present to suggest it either deserved the opportunity or had the opportunity. Sami Zayn later asked Aldis to be allowed ringside for the match, but Aldis asked him to stay backstage because he's not cleared. Zayn also had an interaction with Cody Rhodes, which included a long look at the WWE Championship. MFT then came across Rey Fenix, who literally got on a road case to stand eye to eye with Tala Tonga, which was pretty funny, challenging him for next week and then smacking him across the face. Eric Rowan was watching this transpire in the background. So we had MCMG against Tama and JC Mateo. This match lacked any semblance of energy until Chris Sabin's hot tag. He wrecked shop, got the crowd going with a variety of offense, including a tope suicida through Alex Shelley's legs. Tala tried but failed to interfere. When Sikoa distracted late, Tonga Loa dumped Shelley on the floor with Tama, who Michael Cole called Tonga Tonga. I shit you not.
I heard that. Yeah.
Tama won with cutthroat. MFT continued attacking after the bell. Tala hit the softest choke slam ever. Phoenix saved, got some shots on him, but Tala landed a huge boot. Then Shinsuke Nakamura cleared house, only to eat a slightly better chokeslam. Out of everything I just went through here, the best part by a decent margin was Phoenix's backstage segment. The backstage stuff on its own was really all fine, including MCMG and everyone. The match was okay on its own too. You need MFT to get wins like this if they're going to be a heel faction on the show. The problem is MFT has no juice whatsoever. Solo has somehow regressed as a leader. He's doing his comedy shtick, but not doing it as obviously as he was previously, and that's when it was fun. Tala and Tonga Loa are basically worthless. Tama and JC are both good in the ring, but only Tama has actual presence. The finished product, once this was over, was actually worse than the sum of all its parts. So it's for that reason I'm saying bad, even if individually, some of this was perfectly fine.
I don't know what the MFTs and the whole thing is supposed to be. Like, are we supposed to be terrified of them? Or are they supposed to be running rampant? Or are they supposed to be funny? It just kind of changes week to week. And then we were like facing off with the Wyatt Six, but now we're not. It just feels directionless. And I'm going to give commentary a break because I mess up a lot of their names too, because a lot of them are so similar.
You're not paid to do it though.
That's true. Also, Tama Tonga, like doing that diving elbow, what's it called? That's like the Will Ospreay thing. That's the same move, right?
Cutthroat, which is Tama's move, and Hidden Blade, which is Ospreay's move. Extremely similar. I'd have to literally see them like side by side to see if they're executing it the same way. One of them, I believe, is falling. I think Tama does his standing, so it's slightly different. But yes, it's pretty much the same move. And I've said before,
it's a great move.
See, I totally disagree. I've said before on the show, I hate those moves in wrestling. Like it's Will Ospreay's move, Hidden Blade, Cutthroat, whatever they called it when Karrion Kross did it, which was different. That was an elbow more than it was less impactful and slower. Ricochet does one called, I think, Spirit Gun, where he just shoots a gun first and then does the same move. Ricochet and Will Ospreay should be doing way more athletic finishers. And Ospreay has plenty of athletic finishers in his bag, and Ricochet does too. But when they use those to end a match, it's so less impactful and interesting. For Tama Tonga, it actually kind of fits because he's manic and he's just running at you full speed and doing that with the face paint. It looks great. I'm more okay with it for him, but as a move in general, I'm really not a fan of it. I don't know what he could do better because one of the moves he used in New Japan really wouldn't be allowed in WWE, and the other one was a cutter, which of course Randy Orton does the RKO, so they're not going to do that. So it's fine for him, but he's also like a low Carter, mid Carter, not a main eventer, which is why I don't like it for Will Ospreay, really. That's pretty much the main reason. And lastly, today from SmackDown, Carmelo Hayes fought Kit Wilson. Wilson got some work early, but Hayes started dominating thereafter, just as the fans were starting to buy into Melo. Miz ran out of the crowd, threw Melo into the ring post, and hid as Wilson hit a flying elbow drop for a false finish. When Kit ran at Melo for something afterward, he caught him with first 48, got the immediate win, babyface pop. He looked around for Miz, only to get caught from behind with skull-crushing finale. Miz screamed that Hayes doesn't get to decide when it's over. Miz did get some heat after that, and their alignment overall seemed to work. The crowd was not particularly hot in either direction, but again, that crowd sucked and that show sucked on Friday. So I'm not really buying into that too much. What's most important is the alignment is working at this early juncture. Melo was getting cheers, Miz was getting boos. It also subverted my expectation of Wilson winning once Miz got involved. Instead, it made Melo look tough. He took that shot into the post, but still he was able to overcome the adversity on the field and get the dub. Light good, Kit's gimmick. I know it's just probably a temporary thing. It is awful. The toxic masculinity deal, they just got to go in another direction. But I was very positive coming out about Melo and Miz, more so than I was the last couple of weeks.
Yeah, they finally did something that kind of was straightforward, made sense, made clear who's the good guy, the bad guy. The crowd reacted as such. And you can't have Melo losing to Kit Wilson when this is already a, low card feud. So it looks good for Melo to get through the interference and still win. Good job, everybody.
Indeed, a step forward in this storyline. So that wraps up our WWE coverage this week. I do want to thank once again NordVPN for sponsoring the show. To get the best discount from NordVPN, go to nordvpn.com/gettingover. Our link, which is also in our episode description, will give you 4 extra free months off the 2-year plan, and there's no risk with a 30-day money-back guarantee. I appreciate all of you listening to the show. Vintage Chris Vanini, of course, for sitting by the Silver King's side. On the way out, I do need to remind you that here at Getting Over,
it's all about the five.
So head over to Apple Podcasts and Spotify. Leave a 5-star rating on Apple. Take a little extra time. Leave a 5-star written review. If you do, we will read it live right here on the show. Don't forget to follow us on social media at Getting Overcast on Twitter and Blue Sky. You get episode drops, news, analysis, highlights. You can send in questions and comments for the show on YouTube. When you subscribe, you can listen to full-length audio episodes and watch full-length video interviews. We have another brand new interview coming in the next couple of weeks. And lastly, please remember,
I happen to love the number 5.
Hope you do as well. $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. You can become an official Getting Overhead. Just visit buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Sign up. You'll get bonus audio, the fastest 5 minutes in professional wrestling, instant reactions to every major show, and exclusive news analysis posts every week. Again, $5 a month, $50 for the entire year. And you're directly supporting the continuation of this podcast. Buymeacoffee.com/gettingover. Thank you all so much for listening to this edition of the Getting Over Wrestling podcast. We will be back on Thursday talking NXT and AEW. But at this point, it is time for the Silver King on behalf of Vintage Chris Vanini to sign off and leave you with just 3 final words. Bye for now.